man is not a hero, he's a criminal. Shut up!
That's right, you heard the man. I'm not a hero. I'm a criminal. It's good to see everybody out there. Hello, X. I've got my second device. I'm looking out of the corner of my eye over there. I can just wheel on over to the other side of the room with my microphone and continue the conversation there. I'm watching for comments to come in. I still haven't figured out how to crack that code. Everything I've been told, like, I have seen viable things at work, but they only work for certain amounts of time. Well, more on the puppetry of streaming later, and where will be more or less of the time at any given time down the line. I just want to say hi to Critically Thinking and Drinking for being out there, and hello to anyone else who might be with me. I'm going to open up now my other tab so I can look on YouTube, where we have a couple people watching too. Can you tweet out that I'm live? Yes, I will be around at this time on Tuesdays. It has been appointed. All right, so listen, while people are stumbling in, let's just get some of the conversation flowing. Number one, we have a great watch party coming up on Friday, and another much better watch party coming up on Saturday. What can I tell you? On Friday, we'll be watching, and I told myself we wouldn't do this, but we'll be giving you a way to do it with us. We'll be watching Section 31. We're not using the name, don't really want to make it trend. Not a huge fan of the idea of doing this, but we found out it was only a movie. And hello, as people start to pile in, I'm just looking at my other device, make sure I'm not behind. And I'm just really glad you're all here. Hello. So what's going on with the YT? They don't want to tell people about my show. They won't send people here unless it's monetized. And then they just start messing around anyway. Listen, if you want, you can take the poll. The poll is over on the YouTube side, but you know what? Let me know what you think over on X. I'm watching. I should see everything if I had everything right here. I shouldn't need my phone. The other computer should do it. I turn it on at the beginning of the broadcast. The window's open, so let me know what you think. It's good to see everyone over on X. But as far as YouTube goes, wow, what a crazy drag. Some of this is my fault. I have not been very reliable during the week, and I've missed a few times where I should have been here, and I ended up just kind of confusing everyone who doesn't know exactly when to expect me. So I've been showing up just basically out of nowhere, but in the evening. There's a little bit of a window. Did I mess up? Did I go on at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a Thursday? Yeah, it was dumb. It was a mistake. I miscalculated. What are you going to do? So we'll be getting around to more later as far as that goes. But we do have some stories for you tonight. And the first one would be happy birthday, Tom Baker, everyone's favorite Doctor Who, and the Northeast Americans only Doctor Who. Let's face it. If you live in the Northeast of the United States, for the most part, the PBS channels were the only ones you could see Doctor Who growing up, right? So Doctor Who in the Northeast was restricted to the Tom Baker Doctor Who. He's like 90-something, man. He is not aging on the same level that Shatner is as far as looking fantastic. He aged a lot in the last 4 or 5 years. I guess so is Shatner, but Shatner just tends to look a lot better because he's so... William Shatner's just an animated guy. He's got passion for a cup of coffee, right? But anyway, I want to thank everyone who's come out today. And story number one is happy birthday, Tom Baker. He's old, okay? That's the story. Tom Baker is old. He's the hallmark of good Doctor Who and a few other classic things here and there. Hello, Sci-Fi Sith Dan, also over on X. It's good to see you. And Critically is throwing up some of the emojis. And Resolute Germ is on X. I see him too. X needs to rethink their streaming setup on this phone. This is crap. You know what? To be a streamer or to listen. I know that now the player floats over the X interface. So you can continue posting and looking at posts while you X, which is let's face it, the biggest distractor from YouTube anyway, right? YouTube's rules and laws are they're their own. If you're watching me and you hear only the sound of the voice, the browser's not open, you're not really watching. So that's why you're encouraged to add video, and that's also why they really flog you for stuff like shorts. And let's see, toddies for the bodies. Yeah, all right. You know what? I just Here's my thing. Drinking, I used to do it like regularly, and I was real good at it. I was totally in practice. I trained, and I was a really good drinker. I was a happy drinker. I was an upbeat drinker. The only thing that messes with my drinking is my voice, and I get tired, and I get confused. If I had to get self-censor, I'd not last on any social media platform. You know what? Critically, I had to spend a few months just even thinking about how I would talk on YouTube doing it and listening to people who are successful. It is like a fine art of like weird parliamentarian like dissertations, right? Like I'm saying things like to the 50 people on X and thank you, and to the 2 and 3 people on YouTube, let everybody know what's going on here. I mean, we now have about 1/4 of what Midnight's Edge pulls on X. And that tells you something. And it's a little more in proportion to the size of my program than YouTube gives me. This show was set up in plenty of time. This was not last minute. YouTube just not telling people about me unless I'm monetized. And if I'm monetized, they're kind of slow to get it out. Today's upload has helped. But what are you going to do? Except ask you guys to tell your friends and give you guys the best, show that I can. Usually what happens is people show up. Once you're on for a while, people will know you're on, and you'll start going up in concurrence. It leads to really long streams, and it leads to really weird beginnings as you wait for people to build up. What I've been trying to do has been counterproductive to my goal of getting them information to the most people. It's been focused on concurrence. What I have to do is have an interesting beginning and have a conversation that the people who come and listen to me from around the world, who listen later, do on the YouTube side, that bring it up to a really powerful number. But right now, as far as concurrence live, not so great. And also, I heard there's some stuff going on in the news and stuff like that. Admiral Teag just doesn't mess around with that. Sooner or later, I'll benefit from it. Or sooner or later, everyone will just want to watch things of that nature all the time. And to my colleagues who do that, hats off. No chastising and no hate. It's totally cool. I'm not running a safe zone here or a safe site for non-political talk. We were joking around the other night. We live in the real world. It's just that as far as having or pushing any one particular point of view or doing anything but entertaining is not what I'm into. So let's talk about what's going on first. Okay, in the world of entertainment. If on YouTube you need Discord to help get the word out, X is a catch-all. You might be totally right about the Discord, which is something I've been slow on, and maybe I need to finally do. Also, I've been told gaming and learning OBS is something I need to do as well. I really thought some good videos would be the best way to do it, because what you want is a lot of hang time from a lot of people at the same time when you're live. And you don't want to rely on the super long stream as the way of letting people know. When YouTube stopped turning on notifications for most of my people, I knew that I was in a little bit of trouble. But what are you going to do? We're still growing, and this show will get around the world. Story 1, happy birthday, Tom Baker. Story 2, I got to call out, to a degree, the Tachyon Pulse. I've recommended Tachyon Pulse here on my show. They started just 4 weeks ago. They're up to 1,700 people. Now they're part of some other network. Finally, I noticed that in the fine print of their show. But Tachyon Pulse is just these stories that they're. First of all, they do not go live. To my ability to tell, they have not been live. I cannot see any live stuff. Let me share the Tachyon Pulse page with you guys so you can see it. Okay. It's a little bit, it shows a knowledge of YouTube. I'll say that. This shows that you watch the YouTube thumbnail video. The thumbnails are all the same and familiar. Some of them have some strange stuff going on in them. And some of them are like right on. Like it's really difficult to assess the Tachyon podcast. So let's go back. 1 month ago, intro, 162 views. It's 7 seconds long. Tachyon Pulse, Technobabble 1, 274 views 4 weeks ago. Makes sense. Now, I would say that shows very poor backward-looking viewership. That you only have now that you have 1,700 people, you've only built up 274 views on your very brief 9-minute first show. People would want to see that. People haven't watched your the intro. They took it down. They left it up for I guess just they use it in their show. They don't need it. They could get rid of that one. It's only 162 views. They've got views like you wouldn't believe here. So let's see. These stories, just one after another, are all very desirable things that we would want to hear, or we would want to hear about. So, Technobabble, the Tachyon Pulse, okay, or Technobabble, and that seems to be the part of the community. It's Tachyon Pulse is part of the sci-tech community, okay. So this is sci-tech. Let's take a look at them. Sci-trek over here. Sci-trek has 32.9 thousand people. Okay. So we can see they've been doing, look at this. Their Enterprise Season 2, Episode 4 and 5 party is live right now. It's members only. Wow, what is going on with the Tachyon Pulse, guys? No pressure. Let's see. Making X work for you. Maybe a great Creek Chat X Space to do with y'all. I would love to do that one. The benefit of the X Space is chatting back and forth, and then the ability to open up the conversation and mics to a dozen other people for Q&A, which is an amazing experience. It is an amazing experience. YouTube recommends that you do the member chat for that. The thing is that on YouTube, the member chats, if the members are like sent in bad faith, they can F you up, and I've had that happen. And as you can see, I am just doing a little bit of parliamentarian YouTube speak because I've got to get another 90 seconds before I can really start getting salty with the language. I would love to do it. So I would do it, and I think I DM'd you back that I was interested in doing something and doing something together. I don't necessarily think that YouTube's dying. A lot of people are doing great on YouTube. One of the things we're wondering is, do we start on X and siphon it down to YouTube? I don't know. As I see 96 people on X, it seems to me that YouTube having 4 is a pretty low thing going. Like, something weird is just going on with YouTube. And I think it might have a lot to do with the bot swarming and the other dishonest things that were done to this channel. And also, let's face it, on a reputational level, I've been attacked for a prolonged period of time. And, you know, the uploads, that's been the one way to unite all fans without having to deal with, I don't know, some sort of AI thing or a botting attack that's going to mess stuff up. Now, I don't want to say that this is legit, but, I mean, the people from Clownfish TV, who I quote a lot, they know a lot of stuff. And I'm 3 figures on X already. 101 of you. Thanks for watching live. I appreciate it. We got as many views as we have concurrence. So still trying to figure out the analytic on that. I know that it's legit, especially when you see it later. It's not 95 glances. It is 95 views. It's become more sensitive. I don't know what happened. They bought Periscope and built it up onto there. That's what's going on with X as far as you've had 5 posts go to 6 million views. Yeah, viral here can be game-changing. That is true. And the one thing I have tried to do is I've tried to be responsible so that when I do become game-changing, I don't become, how would I put it? I don't become game-changing in a bad way. Like, there are people posting from parts of the world where $10 makes a big difference for like days at a time. In America, $10 is like 4 Coca-Colas, 4 20-ounce Coca-Colas. You know what I mean? Critically says, convinced X views on live streams aren't concurrent, but it's like trying to prove a negative. No, I'm convinced they're concurrent. I think there's like a lag and a buffering time, but I've seen it go up and down again, which is more or less proof that it is concurrent. How real time it is, any of these things, we don't know. What they have to define a view and stuff, and if they have, I just haven't looked at it. With YouTube, I looked at and found out what the definition of a view is and all that other stuff. So, like, anyway, we're like now the big amount of concurrence. Four of you. Hey, Radioactive, what's up? Good to see you. I got your email and I have that one ready to go to talk about that one for 1883. And time travel's really winning big. If I could vote, it would be time travel too. We only have 4 votes. What's your least favorite of these plot devices? And you guys, if you want to chime in on X, go ahead. But number 1, the ticking clock is your choice 1. No one's gone for that one yet. Lookalikes, doppelgangers, 0%. You see, that plot device, we use it a lot, but it's not, it's kind of, it's fallen out of favor, the twins thing, but it works. You can bring it back with stuff like Data. Assume type Android. It works with Data and Lore. It's really, really great. Critically says 1883. Oof. Took me 3 days to process the show after that. It was done heavy. The drama is excellent. The story is excellent. And also an excellent time. And I talked about this on my show at your movie when we watched Major League. Major League is a great example of what is wrong with a lot of places. A place I'll call YT, as we've made it. Geez, how far into this show am I now? I can do it as we celebrate 17 minutes and 40 seconds. I can say it's fucking great to be here. Hello, everybody. The 110 people watching on X. We're proving that we have a larger reach than YouTube is according me. And I don't know if that's just because there's a certain YouTube community. I don't know if it's too much BS poisons any given community. And if you're just in a world where all conflict is seen as mutual, just taking incoming is considered fighting. So the last few weeks, when I took a little lesson in how to talk on social media, and that came about from talking to Critically Thinking and Drinking, and now I'm up to 40% comprehensive out of 100% of the time. So 4 out of 10 posts now make sense. I've doubled my rational level, and it's 4 times what I thought it was. Time travel works a few times. Star Trek 4 and DS9 episode Trials and Tribulations. Even in Trials and Tribulations, they tried way hard, and the thing is this, in the hands of really good writers willing to use it very sparingly and not explain it overly, time travel, especially like tech that we can't understand, it's really good at enabling a story. For instance, a space story that was real, right, versus a time travel story that's real. The real story of real space travel has enough hypotheticals that are believable, foreseeable, and understandable. For instance, putting everybody to sleep. If you put everybody to sleep when you get there, you can go at the same rate we do now or only a little faster. Makes up for a boost speak. Let's see. Time travel and space travel. In space travel, there is time travel. But this is how crazy time travel is. If you build up enough speed and go away from the sun and towards the sun at a fast enough rate, and you guys know more about this than me, but this is just a true thing. On the 9-month mission to Mars, you would experience a time compression. That is, less time would go by. Because of the traveling, just the speed you would hit, it would be 9 seconds less, right, to your body clock and to you, and you would perceive 9 seconds less. But the thing is, perception of time, it's like, if I put you in a room with no stimulation, alone with your mind for like an hour and then come back, like, you might think 3 hours have gone by, because like no stimulation means you have no watch, no phone, no clock to look at. Watching the clock tick is arresting enough to get you through like 5 whole minutes without having to think at all. So at any rate, it's tell people about the X-Space movie watch party. Okay. The X-Space movie watch party was great. There was quipping going on through the whole thing. I don't know if I have the mod skills yet to master it, but it was a good watch party, and it would be an interesting thing to do. What I liked was we watched a movie that this is the thing about YouTube that makes it different. And YouTube knows when you have more than one girlfriend, and that's why they're throttling me. They see this X success. So anyway, Major League, the first one. It's a fun movie because it's a bad boy movie about Tom Berenger with Charlie Sheen in it as an even worse boy. So I guess the idea is that, you see this sort of bad boy and he underachieved and they sort of mock being a baseball player. And the thing is, the world had changed by 1989, 88 when this movie came out. And I saw this movie in theaters. When I saw Major League, I had the hair and the jacket of Rene Russo in that movie. But the name of the team is canceled. I'll go to Tachyon Pulse in a minute. The name of the movie is canceled, right? As far as well, Major League, you can say it. The name of the team in the movie is canceled. It's canceled, and you can't say Cleveland Guardians' old name and not get in some trouble. Maybe you could do it here on YouTube in context, they say, but there's like a bad word counter and a slap on the hand counter. And so that's what makes everybody vulnerable to sort of these bombing attacks as far as these pew-pew attacks. I said a bad word right there, see? These boom-boom attacks where people can come on and boom your stream, and like if someone really dislikes you, they can open up a window and that's it for you. And we've seen it done, and we've seen people fall victim to it. And I think that some of these big, crazy, unplanned shows that just go forward with no format, I tend to think that that is part of the element. And plus, you have to deduct the amount of people on the panel from the amount of people watching the show, right? Everybody on the panel is also watching the show. So let's just talk about how I'm going to have a Star Trek party on Friday, and I could use a couple of likes on this stream, by the way. 7 is great, though. Thank you so much. Thank you so very much. There is a 1923 upload right now. Hello, Jonathan Davis. We're not going to watch Trek. Hello, Woody M. It's good to see you. Woody M, are you what you drawing? Because your art on your avatar looks like what your drawings art. And thank you so much for being a member of my channel, Woody M. Yeah, you know what? You can't dead name them. That's fucking great. You guys in the chat are amazing, and having twice as much chat is going to be helpful. And I'm looking at X, and now I'm going to try to pay some attention as YouTube is finally coming online with 9 of you watching. I want to say that welcome to a stream that right now has 129 concurrents, 9 of you on YouTube, 6 of you on YouTube. It's strange stuff, but I'll take it. You know what? At what price do you have a worldwide property like Star Trek and stay sort of identified with it? I've reached out and tried to become known as the Yellowstone person, and there is stuff to talk about, but here's the Yellowstone problem. The 3 shows have different sets of fans. Double the chat, double the fun. That's right. Count Dooku would say so. Critically Thinking says, yeah, you know what? Following me on X would help a lot. It would help a lot. I could use a lot more followers on X. I have middle tier premium X, so I get the medium tier signal boost. Now, I'm willing to look at ads, and I'm willing to pay to get them to tell people that I'm on YouTube, because they kind of used to suppress that. Even before Elon was around, the YouTube tag would keep your X from like showing up. You know, you really had to be somebody on X to and get a lot of retweeting going on to get traction on Twitter back in the old day. But you know what? Let's go with the story one that I said. Tachyon Pulse. Tachyon Pulse has told a series of extremely pleasing stories that I would say that if I went with them, I would be able to pull in. Now, I think that money plays into this, or the fame of the other show, of the other channel. This is meant to be, I guess, I want to know where the non-paywall live access is. I have to join this show, this channel, to go live, to ask them where they get the information, because they do not divulge their sources. This is what the Tachyon Pulse does. Middle-aged British guy, seems like a nice guy. He's very literate as far as he reads very well and does his delivery very well. There's not much detectable editing. Actually, I haven't detected any. He might get this in one take. He'll stop and be a little less exacting than I am when I do an upload, but I use the avatar and I put more video in it, right? So it's him in a room talking, and he says to you, I've got great news. I can tell you that Babylon 5 is coming back if this doesn't happen. And it's like a great story, and you want to know more, right? And Stargate, the producers don't trust Amazon. Well, that is very enticing. I want to know more about it. Well done on the thumbnail, and then the title, they use that as sort of tags, like surprising Stargate, return exclusive update, producers don't trust, and I guess it says Amazon. Some of these degenerate into non-English or AI sounding, but perhaps it's been updated since I looked at it yesterday. But so, pretty girl, not dumb, right? Stargate, popular show, 1.8 thousand views 4 weeks ago. And then, like, right hot on the heels of that, expands to return exclusive updates. Still hope? Now, I don't think there's any hope, and I think they've overrun the source material, right? They finished. There's nothing left. And whoa, radioactive! I saw that. Sounds like Tachyon Pulse needs a Tachyon chat. They don't go live. I'm calling them out now, but I don't want to. I don't want to use their video. I don't want to give them a chance to. I don't know the Tachyon Pulse yet. I only know them from their delivery. The guy seems nice. He likes Manchester United. And let me just highlight that one. I am going through so many more different interfaces now. I want to thank Radioactive. Sounds like your Tachyon Pulse needs a Tachyon chat. What I will do is then I will see. Let's see if their super thanks is enabled. Let me take a look at this. Let's see if their super thanks is enabled. All right, I'm going to pause this. Tachyon Pulse is not yet monetized. This is something that I know you could pull off in minutes. Tachyon Pulse does not seem to be monetized. I can join. You can only join. $3 a month. There's only one level. All right. I don't know what's going on here. I sense I'll say it. I sense bad faith. I don't know how you can know all this. I don't know what... You don't ever cite sources. I've watched every one of your shows except the Doctor Who one because I don't fucking care. But Stargate producers don't trust Amazon. That is an appealing title. It is also a little bit clickbaity. But I am guilty of using some of the same methods, so I'm not calling that out. Then the next one, and Radioactive, man, I appreciate it. I invite you to come on and co-host, but then I have no audience. You're gonna anyway. I'm thinking that Fridays are gonna be a thing because people are out and around, and I was hoping Radioactive, you maybe be part of that one. So we'll talk about that. But you know what? I have 2 devices open. Maybe I can get you a pass now, so we can talk about that on the air. Because this match is scheduled for 2 falls. I'm going to go for about 90 minutes or a little more. So when I slide over here, which I'm doing right now, to my other device to check out the good old X, I'm keeping this open. So now what I have to do is, without freezing my device, you know what? I can close this browser. X, I'll be out of communications for a moment, but I'll be back. I have to open up my other account and use the account that I use for contacting people who aren't on X. And believe me, guys, YouTubing is a lot more difficult than you'd imagine. Today, we were going to have Roman of the Empire, but Roman is just, due to like personal obligations and his own show, he just got behind in booking himself. And this is a thing that happens. This is just something that happens in the world of being a YouTuber. It really is just, there's not a lot you can do about it. I've said this a couple of times. The only person you can really count on showing up is yourself. To which end, I may be showing up to my own show just to get a pass to it. But at any rate, one of the things we'll talk about is having Radioactive come by Fridays more. We won't have co-hosts if the co-host is... We're going to have a different co-host approach. It was cool. I liked having co-hosts all the time, but at the expense of having a conversation with you guys or having a conversation that was more cohesive. The co-host has to be at least engaged enough to field a few questions or at least, come across better. So, no problems with that. A lot of people just don't have the time or the inclination, and this YouTubing thing is not for everybody. Let me tell you that. But Radioactive, you should have it now. I sent you a pass, but now X, I'm coming back. I'm coming back to X. Don't worry, X. Now, if you sent a message in the last moment or two, I may have missed it, but as I return to X and my X window, and don't worry about it. Admiral Teague doom scrolls. So, I'll be there, X. I'll be back. I almost can't live without it. So here I am. I'm back in the X environment, and you can hear me bleeding back through my own mic while I find a way to turn myself down. Let's go. All right. Yeah, nothing better than to me. Okay. At any rate, it's great to see you there, and it's great to have all of you friends on X. The first thing I want to say is it was nice to be just sort of free of any news and let my other colleagues do it yesterday. Sit back and drink it all in. It was a big kind of special day for everybody in this country. Sean Carter's here, and hello, and hello, and hello, and everyone else just can't type all the names right now. Oh, Sean, if you're mobile, that's a problem. On YouTube, if you're mobile on your phone, everyone else may have noticed this. If you send out, you can converse a little bit and you can communicate if your chat doesn't collapse on itself. On really big shows, you with a lot of audience, and it's more prone to collapse. It's YouTube's thing. Lately, Chrome has been weird too. Chrome has been weird and might need an update and a refresh. I just wonder if they're afraid if they unplug it, they won't be able to plug it back in. And if it goes down for like 6 hours, it'll be like that half a day that Facebook went down, where Facebook has never come back from people breaking out of the OCD of that platform. The OCD on Facebook is out of control. Miskatonic Madman, what up? I now go on Facebook just to see if all my friends are still alive. Sadly, one of them ain't. A friend of mine passed away. I don't know what happened aside from liver failure. So it's unfortunate, and I am deeply sad for his family, and I'm deeply sad for my pals. That this was one of the first people I played music with. It's a bummer, but you know what? I'll be okay. I'm not the one people have to worry about. So Tachyon Paul's back to the matter at hand. Let me share that video with you again. And again, thank you, Radioactive, for extremely. Why does it make StreamYards? Thank you for doubling the price and having the usefulness. It just. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm getting confused. I have so many interfaces open. Thank you, Radioactive, man. I really appreciate that. I was trying to heart your chat and highlight it, and now X, YouTube, and StreamYards all going at once. It's just the idea that we go to Bumble as well. That one fails on launch so often, and especially when political events are going on, it just fails on launch. But we said happy birthday to Tom Baker. If you missed it, he's old. Hey, DJ Ronnie G. Yeah, all these titles are so appealing. Here's the thing. The Stargate thing with all those views, I don't know what's going on here. Some kind of pump and dump scam. Let's pretend I have $1,000. I could generate. Where are they doing this? This tastes of an AdSense promotion by Google, which is a thing that exists and most people won't talk about. However, if you do these things, you have to be careful what region they're in. Now, this speaks to the viability of a channel, and a lot of people take advantage of newer YouTubers and newer channels by selling them what looks to be engagement. And this can lead to trouble down the line. It's something everyone's got to make their own decision about. I reserve judgment on that. I will just say I have never used a boost or any kind of engagement enhancement. But as far as, actually paying money to have the people who are in charge of Google show my show to people, I will incentivize that every once in a while. And every once in a while, they fuck up and owe me a credit. That's always fun because their other services are so reliable. And you know what? One day I'll burn off the credit I had from Google Fi. Let me tell you about Google Fi. That is the worst phone service I've ever had. That is only good for someone like your mom's second phone, and you give that number out to have like as a backup. Like, mom, if there's a nuclear war and you're dead, your ghost can use this. It's crazy stuff. But so the Stargate thing, like, and look at this, like they get them all in a row in order of popularity, really, almost. So it's like Star Trek, Stargate, The Expanse, Doctor Who, and Star Wars. Just boom, 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 right there. Just like it is like calculated. There's like no personal statements here. Everything is calamitous. Look how big all these things are. All these huge things came to light in just 4 weeks. Tachyon Pulse, you're invited on this show. I will come on your show. And it's good to see DJ Ronnie G, and it's good to see Miskatonic, and it's good to see my good friend and sometimes co-host Sean Carter, and it's good to see you all. Yesterday we saw something incredible happen, by the way. I want to congratulate Mr. Snowdub. Mr. Snowdub's false strike was reversed. What can I say? Sean, he threw the flag. There was video replay. They called balls and strikes. You know what? It is crazy. You used to get your toss from the majors. Gosh knows, like I couldn't believe it. I was so happy for Snowdub. It was a false strike, and I was freaked out. I thought that maybe the news people like poisoned their feed. That's what I thought they did. They can poison their feed. You got to be careful with some of this news coverage too, because if music starts bleeding and stuff like that, they might come after you for that. And if you want to like do a news source, like it's better to look and see if someone else is already using it. Look at the big political guys. Look at both sides. It doesn't matter. You're just looking for a viable source of news. Look at them and to see what one that is not striking people. They don't have an agreement. Okay? They're just using it. Here's the law with news. News is exclusive and needs to be cited to the source for about 3 or 4 hours. That's why all those fake news sources, like a Fox news source or a CNN news source that purports to be real but kind of isn't, they're all about 3 hours old because they can't really stop. They have limited control under the law to stop that kind of reuse of their signal. It goes back to a early 1900s lawsuit involving the New York Times and another paper. I think it was called the New York Herald or the New York Gazette. Maybe it was the Brooklyn Eagle. One of these papers, there used to be like 40 papers in New York City because there was no TV, right? It goes back before even radio. So this is what would happen. Technology had advanced to the point where you could set up a printing press really fast because the printing press was the way that most people communicated, right? So the New York Times set up their printing press from like midnight to like 4 in the morning and started rolling that paper, right? Hot off the presses at like 6 a.m. was a term, It's like coming right off the press, going right into a truck, going right to your street corner, going right into your hand, like 2 people touch it than you. It kept a lot of people working. It was an industry. A lot of people worked for the New York Times. A lot of people worked for the Daily News. A lot of people, if you work for that union, work for all of the above. People saying I work for the New York Times, they're just saying I worked for the newspaper union unless they were a writer. And what used to be cool was until the new owners came along, if you worked for any part of the New York Times, you could get a job interview for the rest of the New York Times. So people who worked on the loading dock could walk in and say, I want to do a story. And they would consider it. But that's ages ago. Ages ago. So what happened was the New York Times would be published and available about 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, maybe a little earlier. Who knows? With a steam-powered printing press back in the day, with all this heavy metal on the paper and this thick paper that's still around. They did an Arctic core sample in like a dump, and they found out that like paper is like most of what was in most landfills. And they found like a New York City phone book from like the 40s, and then they found like copies of papers from the 60s and 70s, right? So that's how far down they went. And they were in pretty good shape, the parts in the core sample. They were like yellowed, but that was it. And they're in a garbage dump. So, wow. Paper today, different story. But you know what? As we look at this stuff, right? We used to get our information that way, and that was a big deal. Then you could set up what was happening was there was another paper buying the New York Times. They would bring the copies of the New York Times to their sports department and their retypers, and they would retype the stories, and they would just say, today in Brooklyn, and then like rewrite the whole thing. It wasn't even like feeding it into an AI and having a new story come out. They just took the story and they wrote it over verbatim. And so what they said was, we bought this newspaper, we can reprint it. And that became a point of contention that made it all the way to the Supreme Court. New York Times versus 1905, 1915, sometime in there. And what happened was the determination was this. You can take news from other people as long as you accredit it. And if you have your own reporting and you report and break the story, that story is yours exclusively for a few hours. And no one else can report it without giving you something for it, whether money or an attribution. Like, things have changed over the years. But that's how it was. It was a slow process until they invented the newspaper, Jim. Yes, it would pick the seeds out of the newspaper. And you know what? The newspaper gin was a fun thing to have around. And newspaper gin, very popular when the Volstead Act was going on, which is part of our other show, 1923. There's a 1923 upload. It's pinned to the top of the chat. Give it some love. Give it a few likes if you have a moment, if you're on YouTube. It's been blasted out onto X. I'll probably upload it onto X in a while, but the deal is this. As I look back towards X chat, I don't see any fresh ones rolling in, but I am watching and keeping an eye on that X space. So if you're on X and you have it, and I'm not seeing you now, do me a huge favor. DM me and let me know about it. Radioactive's got it. It's Star Trek 1923. The Star Trek 1923 thing, here's the thing. They end up in Bozeman, Montana, where First Contact is in the Star Trek lore. So it was funny that our Old West Frontier show and our Final Frontier show kind of overlap in Bozeman. And I guess I have a place that I really want to go. And I bet you it's not too expensive. My uncle might be moving to the Dakota, as the grandmother of Tiona Rainwater calls it in the show. Today, I got some flack, but it's been well watched considering I went after the least addressed, most misunderstood 1923 character. And X is still working. Cool. I see Critically's post. Thank you, buddy. And the man of his word, listening for a while on X, as he said. This guy has 30,000 followers. I'm commanding a pretty good audience, and a lot of you are here. Please follow me on X so that you can come back for more entertainment. We're trying to overcome some problems being thrown at us by our harsh red band masters, as we call it. I hear there's a statue there. Yeah, there's a statue. There's a statue there. Guys, one thing I will say is this. YouTube, I have turned the AdSense down to the bare minimum. It's allowed, but without that, they will not tell you at all. So I'm not doing this really for the AdSense money. People like Radioactive and others who want to help out, that's always appreciated, and there's always great thanks. Bos Angeles, they call it. Do they call it that now because there's so much filming going on there? I've heard the show is mostly filmed in Texas, and then they go to Montana for exteriors. Although there is no faking that mountain range. Is there something in Texas that could do that? I don't know. Maybe the interior shots are done there. But that must make for confusing filming. I don't know their process for 1923. But I did the most unexciting character. But here's the thing. The latest Yellowstone essay is not the most exciting character, but she has got a really good story. In the middle of it, I show my proof that it's a true story. Here's what got me confused, and I'll own this now. In the first Yellowstone upload, it was 11 minutes long, and I tackled a lot of stuff. I made two mistakes. I thought that Alex was Liz in a photograph, but Alex's hair is much longer when we see Alex. It's just that when we see Alex, she's like with Spencer for a second, and they seem to reunite in the middle of America. Like, they make it most of the way to Montana before they reunite. And there's rumors now that Alex might be royalty, but I took on Tiona Rainwater. And Tiona Rainwater is a character in 1923 who's at a reservation school, which is something that the Catholic Church would rather we all take a moment to remember before we let them off the hook. They're not trying to forget about it. So I give them credit for that. Whatever flack they might have gotten today for American immigration policy. I don't think the Pope should be taken literally and he doesn't tell me what laws to obey as a citizen of my country either. I'll just say that. But the Catholic Church has owned these reservation schools in every sense of the word. They ran them. They were funded by the United States government, and now they have apologized for them. There were a lot worse than what happened to George Takei. And they went on for more than just the 3 years that mistake went on for. It was, because so many Californians have moved there. Okay. Isn't there a famous clown school there? I think it's called Bozozo. No. That's funny. RTN said, our master of mirth. You are the king of quips. I'm looking back over at X now. Okay, yeah, I'm current with the StreamYards. But what was weird was I couldn't see any of the things that Nan was sending me the other time, and it was only thanks to my good friend my good friend Resolute Germ. Everyone whose name starts with an I have so many friends whose name starts with an R. It might be the most common YouTube name. I might have to start a YouTube documentary. I'll call it RRR so that everyone can be as confused as I am. Congrats on 200 plus. Wow, yeah, thank you. Especially when you consider I'm in single digits over here on YouTube. You know what, YouTube? The world of X is, beckoning. And what can I say? I love you, YouTube, and I'll be here. But yeah, people pointing out stuff like constraints and other stuff, they're right. We're up to 10 votes, halfway to scientifically viable. What's your least favorite plot device? Also, please like the stream. The least favorite plot device. Let's see what we got here. And we are up to 10 likes. I thank you all so very much. You guys are great. And we're doing a little better on the concurrence. Finally, we'll wake this up. One thing I think I could do is by being around regularly. 7:30 is going to be the time on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Wednesdays and Fridays at my opportunity. Mondays I almost always only and ever edit and do football if Outlaw is doing football. Outlaw 1923 Radioactive tells me has 2 filming locations in Montana, Butte, Montana, and Whitehall, Montana. They also built some sort of like cow town with. Now they could CGI could put those mountains in the background. The cow town could be in Texas, but the thing is, it's always freezing, freaking cold, muddy, and looks like the town from Unforgiven. Now, there are 2 books I cite. These books really will tell you the deal about the reservation schools. The reservation schools are a terrible blight on the name of the Catholic Church. The church, for what I told you, they have kind of admitted to this being a horrible miscalculation. And what else could they call it? And some of the people involved were outright evil. Now, the church has stopped short of saying the church itself was outright evil. But if everybody working for you is horrible and you're like enabling horrible stuff, the person that you run down driving drunk doesn't care if you were driving drunk or you were just too irresponsible to get your brakes fixed correctly. You're just as hurt by what happened. But 200 X viewers. X, thank you. You guys are amazing. And I'm watching my other device to keep on top of the chats. Never the most chatty bunch of people on X, but we do have dedicated X followers who love to talk and listen. We get some comments, but it seems like it's more of a one-way social relationship and that you might be talking to me later and that spaces are the way to go. This might be antiquated on X. We'll find out. And we have room for everything. So let's go with story number 2 just to finish it off. What is up with the Tachyon Pulse? And I personally think I'm calling shenanigans. Let's go to the next row of tiles. Kurtzman, out fresh rumors. So they didn't use any punctuation in their tile, which would have helped. But their tile, is it intentionally designed to speak to people who do not speak English as a first language? Because in the game of accumulating and accruing subs via promotion, when you choose what country to advertise in, it may cost you over $1 if you're not wise or you're not really careful to accrue enough impressions to get, say, 1 American. But for that same $1, you'll accrue so many impressions in a place like Pakistan that you, and it's fine, by the way. Those are real subscribers. It's just that if you then do that, you gain a certain amount of respectability right away. So you look at this 1.8 thousand views. So the views, I guess, add up to subscribers because they do tell people to like and subscribe. But to get 1.8 thousand views, you're talking about like maybe 75,000 impressions, if not more. You need a lot of impressions. I mean, that's a lot of views, man. 1.8 thousand for a channel that, like, it's going to be higher now. It's just going up like crazy. 1.19 thousand. So it doesn't seem to be a boost like of lurking accounts or non-engaging accounts that subscribe to your channel that qualify you for ad tier but don't give you hours. That's a problem that some people have. Other people swear by that method. It's something I've never used. I have used traditional promotion from time to time through YouTube's promotion. People do it. Also, like I said, YouTube screws up and owes you money sometimes, and that's just the only way to get it out of them. Hey, and Miskatonic is hailing Lombardi 1969. Hello, Lombardi. As I look back to device number 2, and I see, is that Nan? Nikki, I'm so glad to see you. I'm getting your chats. It is whatever you're on. Like, let's see if it comes through on StreamYards. Yeah, Nikki's chats don't come through on StreamYards. It's weird. It depends on what device. I wonder, Nikki, what device are you using? It's strange how the interface works. I'm looking a lot at my second device to keep on top of X. And let's face it, though, this has to be flown off my primary computer. So please be, a little bit understanding. But it's good to see you, and hello. And it's good to see Nikki. And it's good to see everybody on X and everybody on YouTube. I love you, too. But as you can see, we're at 275. I mean, maybe if I share a screen, maybe what I should share is my own X screen if I have it open. And I don't. I will. But it's a little bit insane. Oh, here we go. It's a little bit crazy and a little bit ridiculous that YouTube would do this. But just to prove a point, YouTube is not showing people stuff because, I mean, let's just take a look in my stream here on X. As you can see, there's me right now. And it is 265 concurrents. And on 279 people, 280 altogether right now on my StreamYards feed, and YouTube just not holding up its end as far as that goes. So Tachyon Pulse, I'm calling shenanigans. I challenge you to come on my show. I challenge you to enable super thanks so that I can ask you a question. I did not want to put it into your chat and embarrass you in your chat because, whatever, in your comments. You don't have chats. They don't even do premiere mode. I've not seen archival chats. This guy does not answer questions. So look at this so we got Doctor Who, Xmas Special Disaster 3 weeks ago. That's about right for Xmas, right? So Star Trek, A Future Without Kurtzman. That's what people want to hear. Not the Star Trek fans want. That was known. Knight Rider, reboot update. I mean, come on. Really? Stargate, big update. That's the second Stargate update. Disney hijack reboot, Firefly. That is just like, that tile is not a tile I would make because I consider it kind of like a little mercenary and just slightly bad faith with that. It is just 3 clickbait terms in a row. 4, really, because Firefly, Disney, hijack, reboot. I mean, it sounds like I'm doing the NATO alphabet. It's like Firefly, Disney, hijack, reboot, over. Firefly, Disney, hijack, reboot, this is Veritable. Veritable, this is Disney, hijack, reboot, over. Firefly, I say again, Firefly. It's weird. Stargate, new series, the right way. Okay, that one I understand makes sense, okay? But as you can see, they're doing the trick of they're doubling down. They're using their tile for one set of buzz-click words and their title for another set. So on their tile, you can see Disney hijack reboot and then shock Firefly new series revealed Disney hijack plans. This is just Not one article of speech was used. New Stargate update, Amazon go back. No the. Nothing. It's not stylistically designed to be that way. And then they are getting a little more confident. I guess they're building people up, or they've changed these retroactively to make more sense. Stargate Return, original writer / executive producer argues for hard reboot for new series. And there you can see the Tachyon Pulse guy as I kind of hover. And I look back to X. Nikki says, Admiral, you have 280 watches on X. I know. Thank you so much, X. My Stargate movie post on TL. Haha. You know what? You do it here. Honestly, the Tachyon Pulse. If you tweet out that something's going to happen, they might just work off that. I don't know what. They're not giving any sourcing here. Someone does appear to come on. A third party person comes on. Is this Access Media? All right. Who comes on? Paul Mully, writer, executive producer. Now, did he fool the Stargate people into going on there? Or is this now revealing itself as professional PR? And if it's professional PR, it's cut to the bone, but this guy knows his click terms. Now, I'm not condemning anyone who uses appealing terms, but I'm pointing out that there is such a thing as too much of a good thing. And how does an audience engage with Stargate new series? Does Brad Wright have a role? Makes sense, but shock, Firefly, new series revealed, Disney hijack plans. That makes no sense. New Stardate, update, Amazon, go, back. Lot of use of explanation points. Those probably added after the fact. I can only wonder if they've curated these a little bit. But then Stargate original writer argues hard reboot. Maybe this is something from a Comic-Con. Maybe this was paid access that they got. Maybe they were able to convince the guy now with all these views. And they have that other channel, so that's working for them too. And that other channel was pretty huge. So why Battlestar Galactica BSG reboot was really canceled. Who knows? Shock, Firefly reboot revealed. Fans say, please not Disney. Which, please no Disney. No, comma, Disney. Please no, not Disney. Okay, I mean, I can't really argue with that one, but you can see what I mean. So like Nathan Fillion, and that was at this point I became aware of them. About 2 weeks ago, I became aware of them, so I saw some of these. The first one I watched in order was the Nathan Fillion one about the Firefly reboot. And there's our Tachyon Pulse guy. And that's basically his thing. The Tachyon Pulse, I don't know. If I was to make promises in bad faith on the hopes that I would get you to join or super chat to me, and then I could just close gates and move on, if I didn't have any desire, if I didn't care about anything but today, if I didn't care about my reputation, I could use about $200 or $300 on each of these to get them up there. So by my estimates, if you used the most inexpensive form of promotion, let's call it $1,000. The thing is, how many community members does he have? How many people are in his community? He has 1.91 thousand subscribers and 28 videos. It's $3.99 or $4. Let's see the community join. This channel, they don't have their own badges. I don't condemn anyone who uses the default badges, but I like mine a little more proper. If you want to join my YouTube community, you get a badge. You get a badge. And we have clearance, Clarence, Roger, what's your vector, Victor? Exactly. And Radioactive says, hail, Lombardi 1969. If you want to jump on radio, you have a pass. But let's talk about maybe Fridays hanging out for a while, because I think Fridays we're going to go with news and information a little more and talk about things a little more in that area, because it seems like that's the way the wind's blowing. Maybe by keeping it light and keeping it to observations, we could still have some of that interest. But I'm definitely not going to go instructional or take too many sides. But maybe when we discuss the issues, just having someone who has a point of view. And I'm just very much. I watched enough of news on X, not on TV, to know that Elon made it weird, and everyone's got an opinion about that. I think it was emotional, and I don't think that there was much more meant by it, but it was really out of touch. You're already fighting, like half the country is having a permanent meltdown. And I'll just point out that as a person who loves the United States, who loves America, a country divided into camps of all cope and all gloat cannot endure long on the face of the earth. For everybody who got an undesirable outcome, you know what? We saw why they lost on the way out the door. Let's just talk Star Trek here. The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. And I'll believe this guy when he answers a few questions, okay? I've got questions about the Tachyon Pulse, and I will be re-reporting what they report because it's interesting, but I will not be taking it to heart. The chat situation is that I have two devices, and Hello Nikki says, they seem like kind of crap. You're talking about Tachyon Pulse? The guy does really good delivery. I will not bag on his ability to read a script. I'll not bag on his ability to speak seemingly off the cuff. But let's remember here, what he did was he just basically told us what we wanted to hear. This seems like it could be sourced from other more popular YouTubers or from Reddit Substacks. Now, I have done that, but I say it. When I do these things, I say it. I have said a million times that I read the New Trek reverse propaganda where they try to get us to hate the show while developing a new audience. And I'd say, when your propaganda is designed to alienate people and then bring in people who don't like the people you're alienating, that is not very good propaganda at all. Okay? You know what? The enemy should be boredom in your Star Trek propaganda. Your enemy should be the same old story told over and over. And your story should be magical thinking. Nikki says what Elon did was from his heart and not meant from anything other than that. I have the full video. Yeah, I've watched it in context. And I think that the deal was this. One, Elon did something emotional from the heart, and that's not a big deal. And I don't really think that what he did was a big deal. The thing is, it shows a lack of time and place, of a sense of time and place. But he kind of has fessed up to having that sort of outlook about whatever. He said it on SNL that condition that he has, right? So that I don't know. It was real inappropriate, but at the same time, it wasn't what people are saying it is. So what about I chalked it up to this. We're going to get a picture from yesterday no matter what, and they're going to say what they said no matter what. Elon stepped on the X under the piano, and they dropped it on him, okay? The Corpo media, it was very strange to see their response. I did see the outtake of CNN, just didn't say anything. They said, we saw a strange gesture that you're not used to seeing in American political things. And they left it at that. They didn't elaborate or give it any kind of name. They noted it for a couple of minutes. I don't know how long they dwelt on it, but that was all they said. I know AOC. Thank God she was redistricted away. I can tell you firsthand that was not an enjoyable congressperson just to have. But you know what? She's gone, but she's still a New York problem. She's the only person in New York picking up on this California liberalism. She's also possibly the only New York senator, New York House of Reps person who just doesn't get their money from New Yorkers. I don't think it's coming from New York. I think that it's left coast elites trying to spread their craziness to my town and make it some kind of lawless stage for their freaking drama. And it's not something I'm into. But like I said, Elon stepped on the X. Oh my gosh, radioactive. Hey, I almost forgot to welcome you back to America. So welcome back. You know what? A lot of people feel that way. The guy made a weird gesture, and that's all I'll say. It was weird. It was inappropriate and weird. Was it wrong? No, only in the sense that it was inappropriate. It was like kind of like smoking a joint when you walk down the street in a state where weed is legal. While it's okay to do it, it's pretty rude. It just looks bad. Kids might see you, so you don't do it, right? Like I could smoke weed in New York State legally. All right, so that's legal. As I take a little sip of Coca-Cola. So that's legal. But I don't want it near kids. I don't want it around schools. I keep it near my neighborhood. If I'm walking at like 11:30 at night and there should be no kid in the middle of a desolate neighborhood and I want to blaze up, that's one story. But walking down the street, well, this is not some lawless, rude place. I wish we would have some red light districts in every zip code. Like in Europe, that's one good idea. Give us a place where there's less law enforcement, so if you want to act out, you can. And put a lot of cops there. What I'm saying is reduced amount of law. And as far as you want to smoke pot openly in the street, there should be a designated area, and maybe you could have a casino there too. And you call it Vice Town because that's what they have in Europe. And just you go there and you have your kooky times. That might be a crazy idea, but some people like it. It works over there. Yeah, USA. On my over on my YouTube side, I do have the ability to make emojis. I got emojis on X too, but on the YouTube side, I have the ability to send out emojis. And one of the first ones we made was the USA one. And then this one's kind of USA. It's Patton. But I call that one Defiance, right? Because I am defiant. I will defy the Mountain Corporation that controls my beloved Star Trek. And I'll beg all of you on X who are listening now, where we really have a hell of an audience. YouTube, are you paying attention? But X, thank you. Thank you for proving I'm not insane. Save Star Trek, they said. It'll be fun, they said. It has been. It's also led me to Yellowstone. 1883 is a great show. It does have one logical plot hole. I didn't download the map, so I have to find it again. 1880 U.S. railroad coverage was such that the Duttons had two choices. I put it into the show notes. Let me see. This is the 1880 notes that I had. Damn, did I lose it? I lost the 1880 notes. Here is the thing. We looked at it, and the cost of the wagon was like $1,900 or to $2,300. The cost of the wagon trip was $0 to $50 per day. The trip to the Oregon Territory provisioning was in their money. Was we did all this for inflation, and then we pinged it back. So it was $126 to go from New York to Helena, Montana. It was $136 to go all the way to California. In fact, Bozeman might have been less. Because it was only 2/3 of the way. And I hear the pop, and I think I might have one of my experts with me. It is jumping in with me, Radioactive. Hey, buddy. America, welcome back to the USA. Oh, he'll be active in a moment. Mics sometimes take a moment. And I'm not looking at my StreamYards. There you go.
Am I on now?
Yes, you are.
All right.
Jason
I'm not
loves
here, Teag.
Patton's tactics.
Let me just send you the stuff you need.
Oh, yeah,
via
thank you.
subspace transmission. Because as soon as you said
okay.
you lost it, it's like, no, I better get you that data.
I didn't get it to X, yeah. It didn't make it from one account to the other account, as tends to happen. But hello, Nikki says, Elon didn't do anything wrong, but he'd be overly jubilant and people took it to hate. I do feel that it's been twisted beyond that. What do you think of my, beyond whatever he intended? It's got a life of its own now, unfortunately, but what did you make of Elon's gesture? Just jubilation?
Yeah, I mean, they took it completely out of context, as they always do, because they're trying to find something to hang around these people's heads.
Oh, here we go. You put it in the private chat. Cool. I can
Yeah,
turn off my.
let me know if there's something that you lost.
Yeah, I can rededicate my other device to X. But yeah, while you're here, quick. I thought that poorly thought out might apply. Out of like strikingly out of place might apply. But the body language, we've seen a lot of people gesture with their right hand in the air. It was a little bit crazier than usual. I guess it was kind of Roman-esque. I don't know what to call it. I thought that he was talking about space flight. When I first saw it, I was like, he must be talking about space flight. Because it was kind of like weird, like he kind of like almost like thrust his head, like it wasn't like a weird like it was a different delivery than the bad guys of note are credited with, of how the arm got to where it got. And like the hand was like, I guess I thought when I saw just the GIF when people were being outraged that it must be he was talking about spaceflight. I knew right away that it was going to be out of context. What do you think of my assertion there that they were going to make that story anyway? That story was created a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, of course it was. They already had stuff queued up. They always do.
There's our picture. Right, there's our picture. It's like, wait for it. Where's our picture? Where we have 3 possible stories. If they had as much preparation into their campaign as they did into that outrage about the inauguration, like instead of trying to go back and figure out what went wrong, they're still keying off the guy who beat them. Not a winning strategy, is it, Radioactive?
No, but that's not what it's about anyway. They don't really care about winning in the classic sense. They care about, well, this gets down a rabbit hole a little bit, but they want, but you got to understand, the people that you're dealing with first want to destroy everything so that then they can rebuild stuff into the image that they want.
That has been said, and people have speculated along that line, and it's a legitimate line of speculation. I would just say this. I knew that when they got their optic, they were going to go with the story. And that just shows what they think of all of us. Because if someone really wanted to make a case, there are people out there who are trying to make their best possible anti-Trump case who will not gain any traction because the loudest voices in the room. Say someone wants to take issue with a Trump policy. It's all drowned out because everyone who has the power to amplify, say something legitimate, guarantees that we won't hear anything legitimate because one guy throws his arm out. And that's going to be it. We have our soundbite, we have our picture, we just don't think that people can absorb more than 25 seconds worth of information. And it's bled over from Hollywood.
Well, that's true. I mean, I guess what Elon should have done is just flipped everyone off. I guess that would have been more in line with what
that would have been.
See, maybe.
You know what? Everybody, 100% of everyone would have said bitchin' then. It would have been like the people who had to say it was wrong, and they'd be like, "I wish I had done this." It's gonna happen before the end of this presidency anyway. I think that some administration official will finally have had enough and do it. I thought it was going to happen under glitching replicant guy that we just had in the same job. I thought he was going to do it a couple of times. He seemed so frustrated a couple of times. I thought he was ready to do it.
Well, he would have done it for other reasons, but I was going to say, if anything, I would have thought people would have been more outraged at the fact that Elon was apparently caught, let's say, not playing Diablo 4 when he claimed he was.
That does seem to be a lie. Yeah. Let's look over on X.
I don't want you. I don't want you to get
I saw him
I don't
say
want your blue mark going away on X. So Elon, it's okay. It's all right that.
Nikki, I also want to say I agree. Yeah, it's all right, Elon. You don't have to be that good at video games. You're the richest man in the world. You won the ultimate game of fucking The Sims. It's called real life. I thought he was in the moment. I agree. I think, and honestly, this is why politics doesn't attract a lot of people who might be good at it. Like when I thought about YouTubing, I was just like, I won't really do political YouTubing. I'll do entertainment. And I didn't realize that, with politics moving upstream of culture, that we would have so much politics in our culture. And, the arguments are just all over the place. I looked at Facebook, a place I only go to see if any of my friends have died recently. That is a place where people are extreme. Has no one learned anything? Wow. And your name's on it, and everyone you know sees you saying this. It's crazy stuff, radioactive on Facebook. The world of meta is not a world I want to be in.
Yeah, see, that's why I don't mess with LifeLog. Oops, I mean Facebook.
Well, you're also too cool for school with X as well, which is, a lot of people feel that way. Critically says, give me the link when he is cheating in gaming, please. Oh, a lot of this. Okay, so here's the deal. The story is mainstream, and Osmond Gold, I believe, is the person who is showing the receipts. So it's Osmond Gold, and it seems
some
to
other cohorts that actually some real world, I guess, experts at Diablo 4, and they were parsing what Elon was doing, and they said, wait a minute, he's got the wrong character balance for somebody who's supposedly at whatever level he claimed to be at, and
right. So it's like unlikely but possible that you do it with that character. There was like a lot of questions about it. There's no link to definitively prove it because I don't think we could see. His video is not smoking gun. No, but it is smoking fun. It's news.
Well, here's the real.
If they can find him gaming while he's out in public giving a speech, then that's definitive,
I
right?
think they did. I think they.
That's
did
what I think.
that.
That's what I'm saying. I think they caught that. Like he was like leveling up while he was also like doing other things that people approve of. Like I was just saying, like what he was doing while he was supposedly gaming, everyone really approved of that.
Well, I'll say this. I mean, if you're going to be leading SpaceX and claim you're going to go to Mars, don't you owe it to everybody to be playing a space game? I'm just saying. It looks bad.
If you're the richest guy in the world and you wanna mess around a little with video games, like I'll be honest, this is what
Space Invaders. I mean, come on, Elon, dude, what's up with that? I mean, if he needs help being pointed to the right space games, which would be absolutely shocking to me that he would need that, but hey, if he needs a lifeline, we're here to give it to him.
We have some questions on X about whether or not it's true. Look, yeah, Osmond Gold saying it doesn't make it true, and Osmond Gold's not the CIA, and but I don't know if that would help. But that's what's going around. If it's true, I consider it a fun troll. If it's true, I also consider it harmless. And if it's not true, I would love to see Elon. He's got the money. Come to New York City, sit in a Cybertruck in Times Square on the roof with like a gaming controller and play Xbox on the big screen TV in Times Square. What do you think of that? That would be something. Only, yeah, I want to see that. He's the one man who could do it.
I mean, if he's going to claim he's like one of the best video gamers in the world, I mean, let's see him do it.
In the end of the movie Patton, they say, "Go ahead."
I was going to say, since he likes to go over the top. He should go to like, say, the esports arena in Vegas, and he should just get that place set up because it's got all the production.
You say buy a casino, go in there and win a lot of money, just like have it rigged to make it look like you're just the world's greatest gambler, and just go upstairs.
I was going to say if he wants to like put on a spectacle, that's where he should do it, and then he can be playing against all these top gamers and play there. I mean, they do have stadium.
I have a better idea. Think about this. And Nikki's saying she would watch. So, and I was saying I would watch. If Elon would give us an hour of his life, like every 3 months, to watch him actually play the game like the way we see other people do it, that would be pretty interesting, and it would be pretty based. I know he's busy making more money in this during this conversation than I'm going to see in my life, but that's the nature of being Elon Musk. He's also spent more money during this conversation than I'm going to make in my life, but I think he made slightly more, right? If you in the end of the movie Patton, which we have an emoji for, right? The victor at the end of after a triumph would be afforded a triumph, right? His children would ride the trace horses, and a crowd would gather, and he would ride to the Arc de Triomphe, and a laurel would be placed on his head, and a guy would stand next to him, an unpaid advisor would stand next to him and whisper in his ear, "Remember, man, thou art mortal," right? And
Sure.
Elon could do the same thing. He could have a platform on top of the Cybertruck, and just he could have that thing drive him on its own, right? They're programmable now, right? They drive themselves. So just go to New York, Elon. Go to your place there. I'm sure he has one, right?
But he needs to have that laurel. He needs those laurels, golden embossed laurels.
After he wins, he puts it on his own head like Napoleon did. It's sitting there waiting, hanging on some sort of brass ring. If he every time he wins, the platform on the Cybertruck goes up a little higher until he can grab it. What do you think?
There you go. I want to know. Let me ask you this.
Imagine the crowd for that. Oh my God!
When is Elon coming out with X coin? I mean, he's behind the power curve right now.
That might be the one problem he doesn't need. Does Elon already has streamed video games on X? I think he has.
Well, he has streamed video games on X, yes, and that's where he ran into the problems, is because he went on Rogan and said he's like this top player in Diablo 4 and Path of Exiles, and then people started digging into it. They went back, watched him playing, and listened to what he was talking about, what his character.
His game lingo was a little off too, right?
They're going, no. Well, there may have been that too, but he definitely. Here's what they think happened. Elon's too busy to actually play the games all the time. He probably
I would hope so,
right?
I mean, if he can play video games to the point of being great at it. I mean, I'm not saying he's not, but if he can do that on top of all the other stuff, fuck me. I've succeeded at nothing in my life.
No, what people think he really did is he has his actual real account. Okay, so it's not that he's not playing it okay, it's that he's got somebody else that's playing the account that he may have been advertising, right? So when he's at this level 100 plus, whatever the character build is in Diablo, he actually got somebody else to play that particular account. Okay, and then the other thing is this. I guess there's items you can purchase.
Right.
With real money. So basically he's getting that purchased, and then maybe he's having it transferred to his other account that he's really playing. Okay. Now,
is he on World of Tanks being a dick paying to win with
yeah,
something $275 tank?
Yeah, it's something like that's going on, right? So I mean, here's the thing. I get it that he doesn't want anybody to know what his real account is. Perfectly makes sense. But
I would love to.
Oh
boy, I would love to see him play Galaga.
Yeah,
sorry.
Yeah, Galaga would be nice too.
What game would you want to see him play? Like Helldivers 2 on the big screen in Times Square?
Oh,
By the way, everybody, how much money would we raise if that was an event?
Yeah, he definitely needs to play Helldivers 2. I think he should be. Look, like I said, if he's going to be running SpaceX, he needs to be playing a space game. I don't care if it's Star Citizen, although frankly, Star Citizen isn't. That's a whole other story.
We could send 1.14% of our entire population to Mars with the money that we would raise, and then think about how that could work out.
Well, I know how it's going to work out for those people that go to Mars, but that's a whole other talking point.
But people who had perfectly reasonable views on both sides of the equation 5 elections back are more batshit crazy than ever. And what's going through my mind is, it's 20 years later. What the fuck happened to these people? I'm the only person at my age group that I know of who doesn't have an extremist opinion on Facebook. most people I think have just opted out of there. There is some serious venting and just people venting and crying and people gloating and spiking the football, and that's all that's going on. And it's really nasty and personal because it's people who know each other. It's gross.
Yeah, but you got to understand, Zuckertooth basically set it up that way. He purged all. He basically forced out anybody that was actually fairly level-headed. It's the same thing with.
He looks so bizarre. He looks so bizarre. His appearance is so weird.
Well, yeah. Well, he's been probably doing some medications on the side. So these guys, him and who was the previous owner of Twitter? I'm trying to remember his name. I'm blanking on it right now.
Oh, I can't remember his name. I know you're talking about Jeff, whatever I think his name is. He went to Blue Sky and then quit that. Oh, I own the Blue Sky account for this name so that no one else can.
So, anyways, I mean, they basically tried to force the narratives, certain narratives on these platforms, and other people finally said enough's enough, and they went to other platforms. Okay.
Linda, Lisa, so Lisa, our Supergirl. Which is your favorite? Is it Helen Slater?
Yeah, it's Jack Dorsey. That's it. Yeah, Jack Dorsey.
That's it, Jack Dorsey. Thank you, Lisa. It's good to see you, Lisa. Thank you for chiming in. It's good to see everybody, and it's nice to have sort of people realizing that we exist over on YouTube. I guess if we keep the show approachable, we'll still have the kind of luck we have on reviews, but I guess showing up regularly a little more often on Tuesdays and Thursdays will drive this one home. How's this for good news, Lisa? This Thursday, Radioactive, I've got a guest that a lot, especially our friends on X, are going to love this one. I have Sub Commander Tal coming on the show.
Awesome.
Sub Commander Tal does
Sub Commander Tal, is he partisan on either Team Hoshi or Team T'Pol?
We're going to find out on Thursday.
Well, we'll find out on Thursday. Team Hoshi, for those that don't know, Team Hoshi is in the lead. You might want to tell
Team Hoshi is. Oh, Team Hoshi took the lead because Linda Park did a really cool intro for our show. And you can see it every Saturday night on our Star Trek show. It is something else, and it was fun because Linda had fun. Linda Park had fun with it. We bought a cameo off of Linda Park. My friends bought it for me. Thank you, Sean Carter. And she had fun, and she talked as Empress Sato, and she was laughing with us and having a good time. So it was really fun to see. I guess I could play it. Check this out. This was really cool. I want to thank Sean Carter for being such a great friend.
Incoming transmission.
Welcome to Saving Star Trek, a show talking about one of my favorite shows, Enterprise. I am Linda Park. I play Hoshi Sato and also Empress Sato. So enjoy this show. I love that it's finding a whole new life on the streaming services. And you better hit that like button or Empress Sato will not be happy. I mean, she could make a storm happen, and she could really make your life hard. Anyways, enjoy the show, hit that like button, and thank you for being a fan of Enterprise.
So there you have her, our girl Linda Park. Wonderful cameo from her. Thank her so much for that, and I thank Sean Carter. But on Saturday nights for our Star Trek watch party, that starts it off. And then, at least until this nonsense ends on Friday, where we have Section 31 coming out, we will play real Star Trek music during our watch party, and we'll just make an upload later. And the uploads are doing better than the watch parties because what we do is the uploads are 20 to 30 minutes long these days. They started out an hour. Then I figured out what to do. I just have to do a fresh take on the synopsis. The live synopsis reads are not good for the uploads. It's a different energy and a different audience. And then I just take our panel ratings and our explanations and I edit them down into an upload. And that's how I keep in touch with all of our, Star Trek fans in places like New Zealand and places like England. And that's like how I can unify the entire audience. Thank you. I was going to thank X too. 365 altogether. So finally doing okay on YouTube. Double digit club. It's nice to be there. Thank you all. And wow, RRTNZ. Oh, wow, with a generous $10 New Zealand super chat. Let me get that on screen. It says, I found the crown of America lying in the gutter. I picked it up with the threads of my Cybertruck, cleaned it through PayPal, and placed it on my head. Emperor Elon the First. You know what? If he wants to say that, like, after he wins that video game competition in Times Square, I'm all for it. But, like, if Mr. Musk is within the sound of my voice, Elon, man, I don't care if it's real or not. What could be awesome? If you took the Cybertruck into Times Square, like I said, and just like, I owe you a Coke. You're welcome, critically thinking of drinking. I'll get you that Coke. I'll get you that Coca-Cola. Now I'm going to have to clean off my laptop because it has the same problem as Hunter Biden's. We talked about Coke on it. But I guess I can, but I didn't buy any, so that I guess I'm okay. Okay, so hey, Read by Nature is here. It's good to see you, Read by Nature, and it's good to see everyone. So yeah, like I'm over on Blue Sky. I got the name because I have to, right? If I don't take it, someone else will call themselves me, and they'll be like some kook running around calling themselves Admiral Teag. There's already like an Admiral Teag with purple hair. Just like someone be like, I say well played for the person who just did it. It's like some woke account calls themselves Admiral Teague, and it's like their avatar is like a woman whose hair looks like cotton candy. It's great. If that person ever runs out of money for a device to tweet on, I will get them to get it to them. But thank you, RRTNZ. I can't thank you enough for this amazing $10 New Zealand super chat. I need to leave that lit up. I took that down a bit quick. Thank you so much. You know what? YouTube and X, there's two competing things. On Saturday, it doesn't make a difference. I don't run ads on Saturday. Now, if you have the right kind of YouTube, you can watch it anywhere. If you have the right kind of X, you can watch it anywhere. Although I don't think there are any commercials in the X video yet. But Elon will get around to that. And Elon will find a way to make money off of that. I'm pretty confident. I don't know. I think that, if anyone could prove that there's a way to make buying X viable, he did that already. Now all he has to do is like change the definition of buying X. And I like that there's two pricing tiers. I'll give him that. He's a decent marketer, and I get my money's worth for the blue check mark. Although, obviously, I wish I had it the way William Shatner had it, just because Elon loved my stuff. Maybe he will. Maybe next time I go to pay my ex, maybe it'll just be like a little DM back from Elon. It's like, I like your stuff. Just don't worry about it.
You just need to use the right keywords to get his attention.
I'll say this: the one thing the world doesn't need is
Just tell him you think his gameplay on Diablo 4 and Path of Exile suck.
Yeah, you know what? I might tweet that out, but then I'd be I'm already silenced on one platform. I shouldn't be making fun of the guy who runs the other. Listen, thank you, X.
Asmongold? So
yeah, what happened?
Was drinking buddies with Asmongold, and then as soon as Asmund called him out for it, he unfriended him on X or something. Or took away his blue check mark. It was like, and Asmund's going, look, I hope so. Just saying what it is.
By the way, I hope so. I don't have enough X subs to go monetize right now. I don't know how monetized streaming from them works. I just don't know. I haven't looked deeply into it. It seems to me that one is going to change pretty soon in some ways. There'll probably still be spaces and they'll keep it works. But I think when you see Chrissy Mayer with 2,300 people, it's going somewhere. and you know that people are enjoying it. So, we're going to expand to new markets. This is a capitalistic show. But you know what? I still think that like Elon riding in. Could you imagine him? Like he always like ever since that Iron Man movie, he favors that look, right? So he'll have like that black leather jacket on that he wears, and like, could you imagine just like riding in on top of the Cybertruck with like his arms in the air, like holding the controller in one hand, just like pumping his fist, and it looks like a packed crowd. I would pay money to watch that. That would be hilarious. Think about how much money you could raise. If he did that from city to city for the rest of his life and nothing else, he would be the biggest Chad of all time. That is all. Like, imagine how awesome that would be. It's like, what are you guys doing? Well, we were going to go on vacation in August, but we decided that we're going to stay here. Wow, but it's hot as hell here in August. Yep, but Elon Musk's coming to town. He's going to be playing. He's going to be playing The Last of Us on the big screen TV in the Orlando Center. It's like, really? Yeah. It's going to be some shit, man. He's going to take his Cybertruck right down Orange Blossom Trail first. People would be sticking around for that, It'll be great. Radioactive is... what's going on, Read by Nature? Okay, hey, you know what? Let's not do this now. But let's talk about 1883 for a minute here. We found it's a really good show. Every episode has been really engaging, and every episode has been really fun. Yes. So like we found that one flaw is that the episode 1 they're outside of Dallas Fort Worth. Episode 2, they make it inside of Dallas Fort Worth, and people unite, and like we find out these people on the train are Dutton's family, and Dutton's been sized up by Shay, who's got his own problems and story, and then the wagon train begins its journey, and we have episode 3. They finally at the end of episode 3 we're ready to roll out of town, and in episode 4 we're moving, and that's when we're like, what's going on? And I think it's episode 3 where Mary Abel and Claire takes out her Type 0 phaser and things go pretty grim. In 1883, episode 3, I think, is where... By episode 3, things have gone really off the rails for the 1883 people. Then the other thing that happens is they're... around Dallas Fort Worth, they realize they need more protection. They take the and if you could find that map you had, I want to show people. So they take this. What they do is they participate in a cattle drive that's going to get them money and bring them protection so that they can get from point A to the Oregon Trail. So point A being Dallas Fort Worth. Real landmarks show they move south. They're supposed to take the Oregon Trail. So when they're on the Oregon Trail, they would have taken a different route. Instead, they go south. They sell off the cattle. And they get more cattle. They swap out cowboys. There's casualties all along the way to do that. And I have to think any cattle drive going in the wrong direction where you lose people, you've got to say that was a bad move. Like maybe you should have gone in the direction you were supposed to go. But then when the story ends, basically like they're pretty cognizant that they didn't get them where they were supposed to go. So the last 2 episodes, I've watched them. We've got to get through 2 more. They're really good. And they finally do travel in a way that makes sense. It's that the Guardian attack happens in episode 7. It happens in episode 7. So 8, 9, and 10. Or it might happen in 8. But they end up in Yellowstone for reasons that just show up in episode 8. So why they end up where they end up and how they're able to be there, in the context of 1883, it makes sense. I think retroactively, we've got stories that were told in Yellowstone Prime that probably had so many of these events happening in Texas They flash back to 1893, and I think that they did. What happened was there was a flashback on the regular Yellowstone show that wasn't thought out so great. It wasn't thought out so great, and that Yellowstone show puts people in the part of Montana they're in 1893. And I think that while we're in that flashback, we hear a lot of stuff. And we see some 1923 characters, and we see some 1883 characters. And they talk about who didn't make it from 1883 to 1893. And then people who are in 1923, you know who didn't make it from 1893 to 1923. So as we look at this unfolding, right, it's like we look at 1823 at the 1893 flashback. Whatever dialogue happens in there was just about like how it was really rough and really bad in the part of Montana they were in. So they might have said something without doing any research and without thinking about how far back they had to go for this wagon train, because we said it, and then like the time that we looked at it, like kind of like made sense. It was that we had hold on a second. We had other options for this. We had other options, which was we had these incredible. This was so they take the wagon. The wagon was, we figured out between the wagon and food, it was like, what was it? $3,000 in their money.
Something like that.
And the railway ticket was been like about $1,100 for all those people, right? To go one way to Bozeman. Let's say you go to Chicago, and you absolutely could have gotten to Western Dakota from there, or you could have gone, like you said, for $136 from New York to San Francisco, and then doubled back to Helena. But both of these places, Helena is a little closer, but that last train station that we see here in the edge of Dakota, that's not too far away either. That's and let me show it to you guys in a little more detail. Sorry. Check out this railway map. These are their options in 1883. This is the United States Railways in 1880. And by the way, many historians have said this, like the North won the war because they had much more in the way of railroads. You can still see it 17 years later, huh? I don't know if that theory is 100% accurate, but you can see like some evidence of why people would want to go with it. Look, just the state of New Jersey is completely red radioactive.
Well, and that's not surprising because that's where your highest density of population is.
It's around your highest population density. It's moving goods to and from, right? At that point, we've got manufacturing galore, especially in the Northeast. The Northeast is the Ruhr Valley of America, if you're not an American. The Northeast is like the industrial heartland of that point. That's like Detroit and Chicago, more livestock and agriculture. And let's see, Nikki says, when will we be watching the next episode of 1883? We're going to do that one, I think, I might do it Friday night. I don't know yet. That's going to be tough to figure out because, Friday I'm definitely watching so-called Star Trek. There'll be a watch party for Section 31. So the next episode of 1883, we're going into the final arc of 3. We might watch them together. I'm going to have to plan that one. I try to get the same hosts together every time. So I'd like to get at least 2 of Radioactive, Wes Cagle, myself, of course, and Resolute Germ have been the ones along for the Yellowstone 1883 trip. And like we said, the railroad map, just a blast here, talking about 1883. What are you going to do? That's the way it is. And hail the Trek reviewer. It's good to see you, my friend. Hi there. And let's see. So, as we can see, the middle of America, it's still pretty dense, especially in the north. The south, I'm guessing, You had to go a long way to get to a train station if you had agriculture. A lot of that is mountainous. A lot of that is like the Blue Ridge Mountains. But we knew that early on the South was more agricultural. I don't think this has changed a ton. There's more rails where there were, but we get to a point, 35 years later, where Teddy Roosevelt tells people they can only build railroads where and how he says. Right? This is what we're getting to. Like, we're not in the West. There'll be a lot more, but like the East Coast and like Northwest stuff, Northeast stuff we see, that's going to stay fairly static.
Yep.
I mean, will they add hundreds and thousands, maybe even tens of thousands more? Peace out, because the YouTube Drive media types that sound good have nothing to show but try to. What you know? What I just don't want to feed an argument on this one. Critically, you've been a really good fan and friend, and you've been a really good promoter of the show, and it's just going off the rails a little here. So why stoke it? And Radioactive just doesn't have an X account. X not for everybody. It's just not his thing. But he is a very cool guy, and he's a cool friend of mine. And I just, questioning whether Elon plays video games. We'll be laughing about it tomorrow. Tempers are just a little hot. I mean, I think it's more important to think about stuff like, will we get to Mars? I don't know. Is it doable in the next 4 years? I don't know if the Mars mission, are we that close? You can launch. Can we launch in 2 years and get them back by the end of the presidency, or will it be the end of one president? Will it be through, at the best case scenario, does it take it through? Look, we said critically, you're taking it too hard. We said this in context that Asmongold is making the allegations. That's all we said. We don't know if it's true, and we don't know, but it is a story. It's truly a story. Is it a story that's true? We don't know. I mean, and it's not a very important one. I think we took the more important story right on, is that the gesture wasn't that bad, or wasn't bad. It was going to be, something was going to be misconstrued, and he stepped on the X with that one. Rumors don't fly. Rumors do fly, but you report them with responsibility. I just called out a guy for saying stuff with no sourcing. We gave our source for the rumors, and people can judge for themselves. And the other thing is, I guess you can't do this without offending a few people too. So if I have offended anybody, I am sorry. But that's the story. Is it true? No. Is it a true story? It's truly a story. We're going to find out. There's things that are real things, and things that are real. You know what I mean? We're going through an evolution now in understanding that. I don't know, Radio. You're being asked to speak for yourself. Do you want to say anything about just the? I think we're fair enough and contextual enough. Like we didn't say anything that's not out there, and it's not on X.
I don't know what he's referring to. What is his problem?
He wants receipts or proof of the Elon cheating.
Well,
which, by the way, we're reporting that in good fun. It's in good fun too.
All he has to do is just watch. There's a couple videos up there that Asmund has posted. Okay, Asmund has a few other people on his program that he interviewed, and they were discussing Elon's video game claims. That's all it was.
Yeah, and he's saying something about someone leaked his DMs and he thinks it's Elon. I don't know. I'm looking at it. Asmongold does not need me to promote him. He's got 3.3 million subscribers on YouTube. And yeah, I guess it's like, he's got an issue. And is he also woke or something? Or is he, like, what's the deal?
Who's this? Asmund?
Yeah, I don't know much about him. Like, I've only he's only come into, like, my world of knowing stuff in, like, the last week or two.
I don't know what his
I try to
political
cocoon
are.
myself.
If anything, I would say it's, if I had to make a call, it's somewhere between moderate liberal and libertarian. That's where I would call it.
Okay. So he's not out of his mind. It's you watch the Asmongold thing. All right. Let's see. What was Elon's response, since we know Osman? Well, I think we said he denied it. He still maintains it's him. So we got the essence of what he said until he says something different. That's, to my mind, this was a in good fun kind of story. I didn't think it would be. If you know Elon's response, please just tell me, or post a link to the tweet, and I'll go there, because I'll check it out. And hello to almost 400 people on X, as we talk to Critically Thinking and Drinking and talk about the railroad infrastructure of the 1880s. Guys, we got breaking news here. In the show 1883, we have just proven that where they're going is the point. There's the least amount of railroad there that there is anywhere. But even in Dallas, Fort Worth, where they start this show, now they leave from Kentucky, so they go south to go north. And then they go south more to go north. Then they go a little bit east before they finally turn north. Then we find out finally they're in Oklahoma magically. And they get through that and they finally have... I thought we were done with that one. Radio, anything else you want to say on that one?
What's there to say, Teague? I don't know what the issue is. I mean, is he upset that I brought up the thing? I think he would want to. What? I
don't know. Yeah, but we were contextual enough. Like I said, if we're still not, we're still figuring out how to be something more like somewhat media-like, without being the media that made all these problems for everyone in the first place. You know what I mean? Like, hey, John the Beagle Dad, hello, it's good to see you. And now Critically Thinking and Drinking is coming across on his YouTube channel. He's pretty hot under the collar. Bro, it's no big deal. Like, first of all, if it is true, big deal. It's funny. It's funny more than anything else. And if it's a lie, then, it's a lie. Elon's still disavows the story. We're clear on that. I don't know exactly what he said about it, but you know what? This is one of the more low. I thought this was going to be one of the more low risk stories. I thought the Elon hand gesture would be a bigger problem, but that one went no problem because basically everyone knows that one was bullshit. Or close enough to bullshit. It was poorly considered. At worst. If you want to make a case for the worst case, at worst, whatever. I believe it was emotional, and I think I said it before. Does anyone not believe me? Someone was going to step on that X, weren't they?
Apparently. I mean, I don't understand what the issue is, honestly. I mean, like you said, it's a funny story. I thought it was somewhat comical. But I don't know. If people want to treat it like it's some national security issue, I guess that's their business.
All right, let's move on from that one, and let's just see. Elon is head of Doge, right? So let's see. In the conventions just of a cabinet, would that make him a czar, so to speak? Because he's just going to be an advisor to the president with the ability to make suggestions. This way, you don't have to create a whole bureaucracy around him. That makes sense to me.
Well, it can't be a cabinet position because that would take a lot more effort. Plus, I don't think Elon would be qualified.
Well, Kissinger was on the cabinet. I think he's qualified because there's been guys on the cabinet.
Kissinger was way back in the day. I'd have to go back and look. Kissinger was.
I think he probably also had a Harvard degree in government too, right? Hey, Alabama hellbilly.
Well, Kissinger was on the National Security Council for Nixon at one point. I think he may have been the chief of staff. I don't recall. I mean, we'd have to go back into the history.
This might be the point of contention. Just quickly, this was the point of contention on the Elon thing. The guy who's bagging on Elon, and of course he's going to say the worst thing he can, Asmongold. He's not accusing him of like a crime or anything either. He's saying, I think he was the one. I guess the point of contention is Asmongold says that there's proof he was playing when he was doing something else.
Basically,
right?
Yeah.
That's the point of contention. Listen, if anyone's lying, it's Asmongold. We've told the truth. We've told the truth about this story. Is the best way I can put it. Hey,
according to what I've seen, both of these two people were talking with each other. Elon gets upset because Asman calls him out for something. Okay. Elon then goes about and I guess takes away his blue check mark or something like that. And Asman just said, look, he doesn't have any problem with Elon or a lot of Elon's positions. He's just calling it what he thought was a spade when it comes to video gaming, and that was it. That was the extent of his critique. That is it. It had nothing.
This one
to do with
also is
geopolitics.
possible.
Had
This could
nothing to do
also
with
be
politics.
It's also possible they're trolling each other and they're going to come out laughing tomorrow too. So, you know,
Well, yeah,
this,
as the old saying goes, there's no such thing as bad publicity, so it's going to make them both money.
this was a worthy conversation simply because we came up with the idea that Elon could ride a Cybertruck into Times Square and play video games on the giant TV set there, and that would
he could play it
probably
against Asmon, and then
solve the debt deficit. That'd be fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Would we give them like the 15 hours that they need or something? Like, why not? And
Warm
what-
up. They you know, they do.
What's Asmon's
that.
steed? What's Asmon's steed? Does he get lowered in by like a drone? Like, how does he enter?
I think he should just he could be dropped from a C-130, you know, and
Oh, like do like
do
a
a
high altitude,
halo, yeah,
low
do a halo
opening.
drop.
Yeah. Just the opening shock, like right above like the New York Times building, like boom. That would be great. And he's just like, he comes out, like lands in front of Elon, just like flips his arm and like the controller comes out. That would be a showdown. Like, imagine the people in New York on that day. That's like Batman villains, but breakdancing instead of destroying the city. I think we've made our point about the railroad. We did set the price though. From New York on the left to, if you look at the red line up the Mississippi and the massive red lines around the Great Lakes, you'll see that the Mississippi red line gets crossed by one more northernmost line than any other that ends in the western edge of, I guess it's the border of North and South Dakota. I agree with that, by the way. And Asmongold rides a sentiment garbage pile in his room. I haven't watched his stuff. That's the thing. Like, I don't want to back someone until I watch their stuff. I'll say the story exists. I don't know. Like, he could be like a piece of shit for all I know. But as we can see here, like the railways are already like the topmost red line that you see going left to right from the right side. That goes to the edge of South Dakota and North Dakota, the border. The other railroad line that goes through Kentucky, by the way, they could have gone straight across and then gotten a train to what looks like, is that maybe Salt Lake City, and then north to Helena. So they had trains, and they only had to go from Kentucky to Helena. If they had taken the logical route, and it would be like a dogleg football pass, right? It would be like straight east to west from Kentucky around Lexington area to what looks like, I'm guessing, is Salt Lake City, and then straight up to Helena, Montana. If you wanted to take that, based on what did we find out it was? A cent and a half a mile, 2.5 cents a mile.
Yeah, something like that. It's like 2 to 3 cents a mile for travel back in that day in 1880s dollars.
Okay, yeah. So, and we figured out today it was like 3,200. It was 126 bucks, which was today would be like 3,200 bucks or something like that.
Well, what we found out was that $100 in 1880 was equivalent to something like
$2,987
something,
or $3,230. I think was the exact amount.
Yeah, in 2024.
Right. So we're still a couple of years behind, but that'll give you a relatively good idea. I think that by 2024, the bad problems were locked in. It's gotten worse, but it was baked in enough for us to get a read on it. So it basically averages out to 2.5% inflation a year. You should get that raise from your boss. Negotiate for 2.5% every year, no matter what. Beg for cost of living. But so as you can see, like something like 80 people died. Those people who only went from Texas to Montana, or who wanted to go from Texas to Oregon, that would have been, what do you think, about $85 in their money, maybe even less?
Potentially. I mean, in 1880s dollars, yeah, it wouldn't have been. It may
in
have
1880s
been
dollars, and the wagon was like $500.
Well, the $500 amount for the wagon is a rough estimate. I mean, it's not going to
Right.
be specific for the exact route that they were going on. But the issue really to me is
You got a
that,
deal on them at this point in time because they're going out of use. They're like, no one buys these Conestoga wagons no more. They're buying them fancy horseless carriages.
well, they would have traversed multiple rail lines on their way up to Montana, going from Texas.
You
And
know
if
what?
they're
They were
traveling as
smart
a
to not
family-
even suggest. That's why I think about it. One big iconic Western thing they never show us, aside from when they get off in Texas, is that railroad. They could have had. It would have made sense. I sounded my Italian side came out. It would have made a sense. It would have made sense.
I mean, if you're going to travel, I would think that if you were traveling back then as a family, and they're already used to rail travel anyways, because that's what they show at the beginning of the series, why not just travel to Salt Lake, take the rail to Salt Lake, and then go up to Montana from there? Of course, it doesn't make a compelling story, which is what we've talked about before. If you really wanted to make a compelling story set in the 1800s, you would have put it maybe 30 years earlier.
Yeah, like the story would have been like the one thing we did. You said it first was 1843 or 1853. It would have been a lot more sensible than this one. It's like maybe 1843 would have been a better title for the show. Because by this point, like let's see, Independence 1782. We're into like Ohio and Detroit by the time of the War of 1812. So we're there at the end. There's already people there at the end of the American War for Independence, but like it's getting built up by the time of the War of 1812. By like 1820, 1830, Chicago's a real thing. It's not New York, but it's a thing now. And like all that open range cowboy stuff, that's cap and ball revolver from like 1840 to like 1870, maybe. We found out the railroad was completed in like 1867, right? Right? Something like that?
Yes,
There had been a railroad for something like 8 or 9 years, all coast to coast.
Okay, so the transcontinental was finished by
Like 1867.
1869, I think, is the
We Googled it, yeah. We
The
double
year.
verified that one. Read by Nature says someone made an animated cartoon of a garbage pile absorbing him like an anime Akira. See, look, like that's what we're saying with the Asmongold thing. It's only as good as the word of Asmongold, you know. And we sourced it to the guy. This guy has 3.3 million subscribers. He's like only I managed to not know who the hell he was. So consider the source. And that's the story of the 21st century. And welcome to the almost 400 of you watching now. This is a thrill, and it's also an honor. You know what? New media, they say, taking the day and a different kind of journalism. You know what? We're embracing that. Here we are. We're doing the best we can with the things we try to be experts on. We'll observe on stuff in the news, and we'll disclaim it, and we'll put it in context. But when I talk about, wow, it's $3.99, just teetering on the edge. What a moment. This would be the largest legitimate amount of people watching this show at once we've had. Thank you, guys. Thank you very, very, very much. And thank you, Critically Thinking and Drinking. The fire and the sauce is what makes him so great. Hopefully we'll talk to him tomorrow and it'll all be fine. As we've had a couple of flare-ups before. Let's see. So here's the railway in the U.S. 1880. And I want to say, like, there's no hard feelings. So here's in 1880, we've got an entire East Coast network in place. That makes sense that it was there. There was definitely a lot of this was done after the Civil War. I don't know how much. They had a lot of existing track in Illinois, a lot of existing track. They're starting to industrialize this area by 1880. After the Civil War, the parts of the North that were industrial start to spread. The Northeast is no longer the only hub by 18. By the Civil War, they're starting to make things in the Midwest other than just processing food. They're starting to get a hub for manufacture, but it's not New York yet, right? Like everything in the Northeast is like where the Civil War gets won. Cannons are founded there, etc.
Well, the map doesn't really tell us what the manufacturing capability is. All the map really shows is just that there are transport hubs
It is a viable,
right? And you have a lot of ways to get out west by the 1880s. That's all it's really telling us. And so
I'm saying from our knowledge of history, we know that like Chicago's starting to come online as a major city, like 1820, 1830, 1840, progressively more and more of a presence. But it starts out as a place where that's the end of your cattle drive. That's where a Montana cowboy would drive their cattle. You know what I mean?
well, the reality is you actually had cattle drives that would go from Montana to Texas and vice versa in this era. However,
Yeah, you
that
put them.
said,
You
if
need to
you're-
get them on a train. It's called
Yeah.
a cattle car for a reason.
if you're making a trip and you're trying to settle
Hey, Kronos.
up in the Northwest, what's the most likely
Good to
way
see
you're
you,
going to
buddy.
go there by this point in time? It's not by wagon train. It's going to be by rail for most of that journey, right? And then the rest of the way you'll be on a wagon train.
I'm guessing on a wagon train. And your chances of survival are like pretty high on like the 100 miles of wagon train you'd have to. They had like less than a 300-mile wagon train route if they wanted to take that. And really, they could have just gone to Bozeman and bought new possessions, just like Grandma's old chest. Yeah, well, forget about it. We're not going to risk our lives. These people literally all died because they couldn't read a train map. It was because the events were dictated in Yellowstone, and like they didn't have a historical consultant, and they had to pick up the pieces. It was fun though. And hey, Kronos! Everyone's greeting our boy Kronos. He waves to all. And this reminds me of how extensive Britain's railway network was compared to what it is now. Well, see, this is 1880. I'm going to bet there was a lot of track added after the Civil War, especially into the Northwest and during the Civil War. Into the Midwest, the northern Midwest. That's why you have tracks going as far as like Montana. It's like that is feeding all that, like all the places where the tracks terminate. It's the open range that's feeding the whole country and the farmland. You can grow a lot of food where those tracks are. But that's that middle part of that country. That's like your classic cowboy cattle country, and like you said, there were real huge cattle drives, and most of that livestock went to Chicago and then on to the rest of the country, especially after refrigeration. I don't know if it was in 1883. I think it was probably still. It still wasn't New York, but by 1883. I think by 1898, New York City has electricity in most of the city, right? Downtown Manhattan is lit up before 1900.
With electricity?
Yeah. Some of it. Pearl Street.
I don't know if they did they have electricity in New York City by the 1880s?
That's
I
the
thought it was
first
all.
electrified
Are you sure
city.
it's not gas lamps?
There's not the whole city, but they have gas lamps still. First electric generating station. Okay, here we go. First electric generating station. Pearl Street, New York, 1882. Downtown New York part of downtown New York is lit up by 1882 on an ongoing basis. 5,000 lamps, day one. And supplied electricity to 85 customers.
Okay.
It burned down in 1890, but was rebuilt and serves as a model for other power stations. So Pearl Street Station is located at 257 Pearl Street in the financial district. It's probably a brokerage now. I think they also discovered microwaves at the same place. It stayed around till the facility stayed around till then, or the modern version of the Pearl Street facility. Because I guess in New York, if your building burns down, you just buy the one next to it. If you're the utility company. So by 1883, maybe Chicago, no, but New York, it's starting to proliferate, and people. And by the way, Little House on the Prairie takes place in 1883, and they have a phone. That should be for context. Phones are a thing; they exist in this world. Anyway, there we go, and we called out the Tachyon podcast. Let's see. What did you think of the Tachyon podcast and all of that?
I don't really have I'm neutral on it because I haven't looked at all of the things he's dug into. I'm aware of it. I think I may have seen a couple of his videos, but you're actually more on
He,
top of that than I am.
yeah. Well, here's the
By a
thing.
long
It's all
shot.
It's all very sensational, and in the videos, he doesn't give sourcing. Like, he'd be like, they're afraid that Amazon is like. He'll be like, the this is a story, and it's believable. He says that the Firefly reboot is going forward, powered by Nathan Fillion, who wants it. Now, some of this was subsequently said by other people. I forget who, but I heard it more around, right? Now, I don't think he was the source of it. It was other people. So one possibility is his source is other YouTubers, and he's saying things that he's cobbled together and thinks are true, and he's just not giving that part up, which is something I do. I give sourcing. Like for even like the Osmond Gold story or not, the sourcing was out there for you to decide, and I was honest and open about that one to you. So I offer that to you with that information caveat. So with that, I say, yeah, what up, Tachyon Pulse? You have to tell us where you're getting this from. It's every franchise. It's a shocking revelation. As far as the Firefly thing, I'll give you a classic example. Without attribution of how this is happening, he simply says that the Firefly people are looking to do a reboot because Nathan Fillion wants to do it. Now, the fact Nathan Fillion wants to do it, that might have been confirmed. But because the next stuff is pretty, maybe you could cobble it together, or you could do it on hearsay. I need to know where he got it from. It was Nathan Fillion has had more success in TV since he left Firefly than Disney's ever had in TV. And that's true. For 20 years, he's been on TV making money and on one popular show after another. My mom knows who he is. You know what I mean? From that detective show. And now his new show, The Rookie, is doing really well. So he's bankable TV star. And he's saying, I love that Firefly show. I love being in that Firefly movie. I love my Firefly fans. And if I could do a little more of that before I'm done with the TV thing, I'd love to. But I'm going to do it on my terms. That's what I'm getting from the Tachyon podcast. That he's only going to do it on his terms. But Disney wants to get in the way and woke it up. All this sounds highly plausible. If I was going to make up a story, it would sound like that. But I don't make up stories.
So your concern is that he's engaged in sensationalism, is what your big concern
I
is?
wonder what's going on, because the thing is, he doesn't go live, but his other channel, right, which may have lost the trust. Who knows why he's moving on from the other channel, right? People either come over or they don't. But he's hiving off this new channel from another one with 32,000 people. It's crazy. It was big. And at this point, when it's a member stream, you can't see any numbers. But he's having a live stream with members. And when you go there, the only way to talk to him is to buy a membership chat. So I feel like if it's a charade, why would I give him a membership chat? So what I'm doing is I'm calling the Tachyon Pulse out in good faith. I'm accusing you of nothing, but I am saying you must please, in a future video, or if you want to come on this program, you'll be very fairly treated, and we'll adjust for your time difference. But I need to know where you're getting some of this stuff from. And when I re-report the Tachyon Pulse, it's not with the belief that I know much more than the Tachyon Pulse said it. And his cachet is that he has thousands and thousands of views on every single video. And I think he's just promoting them. I think he's also showing them in the least expensive markets to build up accrue a huge amount of views. And then when you go there, you're like, wow, this guy has all this information. Look how many people watch. He's brand new. He's only got 3,000 subs or 2,000 subs right now. He must really be onto something. And then he's got one or two creators, but it's like a level of access you could buy with a con or with basic journalism approachability skill. Like how I could just DM Matthew Modine and offer him $300 to come on my show for an hour because he sells stuff all the time for $200 and $300. That must take him 3 hours to do the auction and set up the thing on eBay, right? Or whatever. So I would protect him from any kind of questions, and we would keep it on his thing with films and freedom of speech. and we would keep it from getting like any like in any way weird. But we would try get. I would love to. I would do something like that. But with oh, I see why I thought I didn't have the other stuff. I accidentally, when I highlighted the message you sent me, I turned the ink white.
Oh, that's not good.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you know what? The show's almost over, so uh, can you fall asleep to this if you want? Sure. Nathan was a jerk in GOTG. Gov. Oh yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy. I don't remember what he did now. I didn't see. I have only seen some Guardians of the Galaxy, and I got to be honest, it was better than the other Marvel stuff. But like when it got to like 2 and 3, I think I saw 1 and 2. I knew how they fit into Endgame, but since Endgame, Marvel's been so convoluted and crappy that I haven't gone back and watched the old stuff. I got rid of Disney Plus because there's nothing in it as far as new stuff. They've subverted themselves. He was in jail in Guardians of the Galaxy. He was in the jail. I'm trying to remember that. Did he make reference to being the Firefly captain too, Kronos? But like that story is augurable from like Entertainment Weekly and Reddit. So if you're like, look, I've been hitting the Reddit Substacks and I've been doing this other stuff and I've been doing my due diligence as in research. Here it is. This is what I figured out. That's fine with me. That's based, but if you're going because you're being honest with people about about what's going on, and we got almost 400 people again just knocking at that door with $3.99. Tell your friends about us. Anyway, not working, just be jamming. You playing guitar, Kronos? Cool. What instrument are you playing? But here's the deal: these things are figure outable. It's nothing that couldn't be deduced. And if he deduced these things and he came up with the script, that's commendable because it's a likely story. And he has cobbled together from these different sources a form of possibility and a theory that would be worth hearing. But like for instance, when I talked about stuff like that was tweeted about by Star Wars Girl, what did I say? This was tweeted out by Star Wars Girl. It makes for a better conversation anyway. You've got to give your sourcing.
It certainly helps if you do.
It does. Oh, I got the text back now. Yeah. $100 in 1880 was worth $3,094.17 in 2024. $100 in 1880 is equivalent in the purchasing power of that. Today, increase. Yeah, okay, so it's gone down, like the currency fluctuation's gone on, but it was $200 for the ticket, so $200 would be $6,000. So the wagon trip would cost well over $500. People might have needed to still take the wagons, but we looked at they would have been going, like we said, from civilized town to civilized town, from railhead to railhead. There are a couple of places that it was a drag, but if you went slightly to the east of that Great Plains, you're still hitting a lot of towns before you hook west. You could go from town to town for a long time on the Great Plains on the eastern side. Only these people chose to go through the most dangerous part, and the only part of America not pacified with the Guardian Wars, which ends in like the 1870s. Because basically we turned loose all our Civil War guys on the Guardians.
Well, see, and that's the two you could say plot holes in the show is the timeline in which they're partaking in this trip, okay, and then the Guardian Wars, which would have been over by this point, or were mostly over by this point.
Yes, exactly. The Guardian Wars were pretty much over. There was still some action going on in isolated pockets of the country, and like there was a little bit going on. Here's the thing: the Battle of Little Bighorn is really right there in the Bozeman area. So they're going to a place that had been really out of control a few years earlier. Because what happened was,
I have to make one small correction to you on that.
Go ahead.
The Battle of Little Bighorn was south of modern-day Billings on the road to Cheyenne, Wyoming. So it's a good 150, 200 miles from Bozeman.
Here's the thing. I did research that, and it's from Bozeman, Bozeman to Sheridan to Badlands National Park. One point of this is Badlands National Park, and the last point of it is it's through Custer Battlefield to the edge of Little Bighorn Park, to the edge of Yellowstone Park, which is huge. That is, it might take 2 weeks to walk, but there's a walking trail the whole way. So it's. I found like a local real estate guide's map, and it showed like the trail. So it's we did put it on the map. I guess it was. The thing is that area, the Custer Battlefield. When we're talking 150 miles, that's like a range of like a horse-born society that's sort of a marshalling society at that point, right? So that's not too far off their stomping ground for 1873. Because in 1876, there's the Battle of Little Bighorn, and that's where we get an American cavalry division very close to wiped out. One part of it was wiped out. It determined some Super Bowls. We've talked about that. But that is 1876. And after that, like, the U.S. Army and the U.S. government was 100% focused on pacification. And it started in the ground zero of the Custer battlefield. That was where they really put a black eye on America's 4th of July, because the nation got the news on the 4th of July. That's why another reason why this is such a huge event. You wonder why, like, people still talk about it all these years later. Like, I think the deal was the news broke while the President of the United States was at the World's Fair in Chicago.
Yeah, that
Something
might be
crazy
true.
like that.
Yeah, that might be true.
Sounds so 1876, right? And the battle's on June 20th? So this makes sense. This tracks on Speed of Horse.
Yeah,
The Little
I don't-
Bighorn
I
battle is
don't-
June 20th.
Yeah,
Or June 19th, one or the other.
Battle of the Little Bighorn. That land right there is kind of the edge of the Great Plains on the western side. Okay, so by the time you get to
There's a bunch of rivers coming together there.
well, the Bozeman area is mountainous. Okay, so was that in the range of, say, the Lakota Sioux to travel? Yes. Were they engaged in, say, what we would call in modern terms guerrilla warfare through Montana at that time? I don't recall ever hearing that.
It's becoming implausible. It becomes increasingly implausible after the battle with Custer, because that's where your enforcement begins. It's like the guys who took out Custer are the first people that they want to deal with. And then whatever, the Guardian Wars are the Guardian Wars. Let's see if I can just get a map here that won't be too much of a pain in the ass. The Yellowstone Wiki should have a map. Let's see.
Well, if you look, there's the one map I posted to you in the private chat that shows
did you?
the
All right.
range. Yeah, it's
Perfect.
above the railway one.
Oh, yeah. All right. So here we have the Guardian lands, or the Washington Football Club lands. Let's see if I can find this. I have so many tabs open, it's crazy. I can close a couple, maybe. I can close Osmongold, that's for sure. New York City was electrified a long time before I thought. That's like a good 10 years before I realized it. Here we go. So, let's see how this is displaying. This is pretty good. Indian land secessions, or sessions, sorry. So, here we go. By 1784, I'm guessing everything that's white is like land that's no longer claimed by anyone that's federal now, or federalized enough.
Well, that area to the east, that's basically the colonies.
Right.
Okay, so the way you read the map is which lands are considered "quote unquote" guardian territory.
So here's what it is where we start. So the white areas, fair enough, makes sense. The white areas are white. So here we go. By 1815, we've gotten really into here. This goes up to 1819. So you can see we're starting to like really just expansion going on, and this is upward from Mexico, the other expansion. So 1820 to 1839. Look at that. So the area. Can you guys see the cursor? Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. I gotta see.
The cursor looks like it's showing up, Teague.
Okay, cool. Thank you. So they need to go from here, approximately, like right about here, to here. So they go from here to here to here. It's the most insane thing ever. But in 1839, it's still really just it's fraught with peril. Not to the extent they said in the show. This is worse than they said it was in the show. This is also slight. This is about as bad as they said it was in the show, isn't it? This is about as much Guardian activity as you would expect to go through going from Texas to Montana. This is how they portrayed it in the show.
So.
1859.
That's the way I read it.
Yeah, 1863 might have been about. So here, this is still 4 years before our show. You got a straight shot with only one reservation. You can go around it to get to where you want to go in here. You're going in here. They never get on the Oregon Trail in 1883. In 1883, for all we know, sometime in the other Yellowstone, which is on a different TV network, on Yellowstone Prime, they could have said like it was a cursed wagon train, and they just don't say it in the other one. So 1880 to 1972 is the last big chunk. It's looking pretty safe. I guess 1879 will be our guide here. In 1860 to 1879, while it's still significant, they're going to be all right. They shouldn't have had any problem until they got well north. And even at that point, like we said, by 1883, that northern area, I don't know when that reverts to the federal government, but we do know, like, a lot of the Guardian Wars, like 1876 cranks it up a whole new level. We were expanding westward. It was going to happen. But that Little Bighorn battle, that was like, it changed a lot of minds for the rest of the country as far as how they were going to handle westward expansion. And what happened. But Yellowstone, 1883, they're about at least 10 years to 15 years late on the amount of Indians or the amount of Guardians in their area. And they're, 40 years off. We'll be generous. We'll call it 40 years off.
Possibly, yeah. I mean, that's the way I read it. I mean, the tone and temperament of the show gives you the impression that that it's a lot more dangerous in 1880 than I think it really would have been.
And what really wide open spaces and absolutely lawless, and it can't be, because like what's going on is that they would have had like. If we would have had a scene that was accurate at night at any given time, there would have been at least one or two homesteads after they got out of quote unquote the crazy area. Because people would have been like, this is far enough. I'm going to put down roots here. I mean, there was some unfarmable, unarable land, but there probably been a few people willing to like do cattle herding or something at any given place. Like they would have seen campfires, they would have seen huge herds of cattle, and they would have passed some railroads. They may have wanted to just stay away from showing us them crossing or being near a railroad because they were aware that if they... At some point, you sit down with a historical expert, and he's like, "Oh my God, your 1893 is like 1953. What are you doing?"
Yeah,
What?
that might be what it is. I mean,
We've never seen the flashback from Yellowstone Prime.
well, I know I certainly haven't. I haven't seen any of the other Yellowstone shows except this one. So,
There's roughly 60 episodes. You can be an expert in like 3 weeks. I look forward to watching them. I'm going to have to catch up with them on my own before I watch them with everybody. Probably a huge nut to crack, but since we did the other shows, and since Yellowstone's going forward, there's a few things I need to know. But the Yellowstone world fits together, and we hit 400. Thank you all so much across X and YouTube. Thank you all so very much. 384 of you on X, and hanging tough. We got 5 people watching on YouTube. It's all X. Way to go, X. Thank you. YouTube, you know what? You got to get it together. We've proved a very important point here today, and the screenshots of this will go up later. That's crazy. Just doing a little screenshotting right now on my other device to show the insanity. This is ridiculous. I'll just take care of that a little later. But hello to all of you on X, and thank you for listening. Oops, I accidentally reactivated the sound. All right. That needs to go away. I'll fix that later. All right, so let's see. Chat's kind of quiet over on X. We got a lot of people who have listened. This is the deal. 1923 spoils 1883. Yellowstone spoils 1883 and 1923. All shows mutually spoil each other. The least spoiler way to watch it is 1883, 1923, and then Yellowstone. Now, because of the fluke of how this is distributed, I ended up seeing 1923, then 1883, and now I'm getting into Yellowstone proper a little bit. Yellowstone proper is really good, but it's on Peacock. 1923 season 2. There might be some stuff baked into Yellowstone that people will just know that I'm not going to have a chance to find out, and I'll see what I can do. Maybe I can peek at some at some NBC, and maybe I can find some places on the high seas. But we'll find out. There's a disincentive because the news is 1923 season 2 is the final season of 1923. Which is a bummer. That's the better show. 1923, they got 1923 right. There's prohibition, and the people who are protesting for prohibition now, you're like, wait a minute, it's 1923. They are protesting the fact that the prohibition is not being enforced in their town. So it adds up. Their problem is there's no prohibition in Bozeman. And town, I had to go to their wiki to find out, is Bozeman. They just call it town. You would never know they never say we got to get to Bozeman. But they go to this town. It could be any other Old West town. If there's Bozeman landmarks that are there today in it, I wouldn't know. And it doesn't seem it's pretty easy. Tachyon Pulse's other channel is called Sidetrack. It's on Tachyon. It's in Tachyon Pulse's description.
I know that show. I've watched his Sidetrack show a couple times.
Could he have maybe... This is just, and we don't know anything here. Could he have maybe gone a bit too far in a few too many places too many times with Sidetrack, and now he's doing this to sort of, try to get a grip on this situation? Because right now he's watching Enterprise, but he's watching Enterprise with his community, and it's weird. It's a live watch, so does he take questions? We don't know.
Like I said, Teag, insufficient information for me.
I can't give my. I can't recommend the channel. I would say feel free to sub it. I can't recommend joining that community. There's so many other creators that deserve it more. And I guess one person I could endorse is he doesn't need me. But man, Snowdub really just made a mint. He had a great idea and he ran with it, and now he's up to like 7,000 subs. Way to go, Snowdub. And you know what? Like, it's just absolutely incredible. Yesterday, he got busted for copyright infringement, and it got turned over in like a couple of hours. There was a copyright strike on his channel. It got turned over and reversed in a couple of hours. Never seen anything like it before.
Well, obviously they realized that I guess he didn't actually violate any copyright rules.
You know what it was? It was just like the company falsely struck him. They didn't know their own copyright rules, or they were being dicks. I have a hard time believing it was a mistake. It was actively done by the news source. They didn't have the right to strike people for doing it, and they did. Because, like I said, you need a certain amount of broadcasting viability, or a certain amount of newspaper credibility to be covered by all these things, right? Like the exclusivity and all that. And otherwise, you're just someone saying things, which is how we seem to be getting stuff now anyway. No one wants a professional journalist anyway, but as far as professional journalism goes, their exclusivity lasts either 3 or 4 hours, and if you are getting it off like this, if I like, let's say something like C-SPAN is like, I think that's like safe, right? If you look at other streams who are doing it, whoever's got it on, who's not being struck, just use theirs. When I usually watch the My Pillow Guy News Network. It's crazy. There's a My Pillow commercial going on half the screen half the time, but he doesn't seem to have too many people on there. So when they turn the camera on, it's not always a great angle, and he has bad sound a lot. But I guess he's probably got a lot more money now than he used to. But he used to just like say, turn the camera right on the person speaking and just leave it on. And if you could hear them well enough, like there was no commentary too much before and after. So it was fairly decent for that. You had to deal with the commercial, but he wasn't striking anybody because he just like was turning on a camera and just like that was it. And like say C-SPAN, I think is the same thing. If you hive it off C-SPAN, they can't like legitimately strike you. Your tax dollars are already paying for it. Maybe if a foreign person did it, but like in America, I don't think they could do it. Don't go out on my advice. Do your own due diligence, guys. But like, so they struck Snowdub when they didn't have a right to, because an event was so big that they can't keep it exclusive. Some people were even using CNN's YouTube stream yesterday.
Oh, well, yeah, I'm not surprised. There's I think multiple channels that were using.
If you
well,
turn
not
off the
just
sound,
CNN.
except for when he's talking, it's
Yeah,
the same thing as anything else.
It wasn't just the I guess the C-SPAN or CNN channels. There were multiple channels that were being leveraged. Let's put it that way.
Right, and people in different broadcasting niches, different streaming shows, they were using the actual broadcast feed to use it. Like they were using feed from YouTube. They were using feeds from like CNN's YouTube feed, like Fox's YouTube feed. It was part of people's streaming shows.
It really boils down to, is it fair use or not? And
at that point it was.
And
yesterday,
so,
like everything was pretty fair gamed.
So, look, we all know there's a lot of call it nefarious people that are going around trying to destroy channels and et cetera, et cetera. And it just gets old after a while.
Yeah, it's sad. I guess on that one, the final note is Stark Iron was back last night. Congratulations to him. I guess either it was a 10-day ban and it wore out, or he got something happen for him too. I don't know what the deal is with that one. It seems about the right amount of time now. Congratulations to him on having that lifted too. Way to go, Tony. And I guess I'll be back on Thursday with some Commander Tal. And Kronos, you enjoyed that power nap. I'm sorry I was a little behind on the chat. But let's see. Yeah, get the Little House Parry all around time. Explain my books, fictionalized accounts of real life to be understood as a form of literature. The first one's called Little House in the Woods, and it's in Minnesota. They move 3 times before they end up in, is it California? Walnut Grove's in California, right? That's the last place they go?
I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure where Little House on Prairie was supposedly set. I always thought when I was a kid it was in the Midwest, but What do I
The
know?
book that it's named after was named after the Midwest, but they end up on the West Coast, and so does she, where she writes her books. So the first one's called Little House in the Woods,
No, you're
or
talking
Little
about
Cabin in the Woods.
you're talking about the books,
The
not the
actual
TV series.
Laura Ingalls Wilder books. The first
Okay.
book is called Little Cabin or Little House in the Woods, because they're in Minnesota, right?
Okay.
The next one, and Minnesota's not far from the Great Plains. It's just heavily forested. It's kind of considered part of the Great Plains. Just a lot of it's heavily forested. So you got Little House in the Woods. Then the next one's and she's much younger. And then the next one is Little House on the Prairie. And then there's like Little House by the Sea or some shit like that. There's a series of books. Or the second one is just Little House on the Prairie. And to them, the prairie is Sacramento. I just don't know. I didn't read the book. Someone explained it to me a while ago. But she wrote the books in 3 different locations. And I think the show was an amalgam of all the stories, fictionalized and with great creative license. The things that were true were like that her daughter went blind, that they didn't have much money, and that he had a telephone.
That may very well may be true. I don't
Probably
know.
figured into him being fucking broke, too.
Yeah.
Goddamn telephone in 1883. Charles Ingalls they were broke because their father was into gadgets. That was the whole problem with Little House on the Prairie. That fucking phone was breaking them all.
Well, hey, that was the PS5 of that era.
Yeah, but by the end of Little House on the Prairie, there's cars in Walnut Grove, and in the very end of Little House on the Prairie, he lives in Frisco.
Are you talking the show or the
The show. There's episodes where Charles Ingalls is just in Frisco.
I don't remember that. I guess I didn't pay that close attention to the show.
I only remember it because it lasted so long, and because like Melissa Gilbert was like a little like maybe the same age or a little older than me, so she was always safe to kind of think was cute. Get what I'm coming from here?
Yeah.
So like even after I was too old to watch the show and didn't care about it anymore, I would still turn it on and watch it and just feel like, oh man, like Melissa Gilbert, I wish like this show had some clothes where she wasn't wearing a hoop dress, you know what I mean? So when they get into like, they never get to like the 1920s, but Charles Ingalls makes it to like 1900 on the West Coast with like the last kid he ends up adopting, the apprentice kid. That kid gets it like becomes like a morphine addict. It got dark and crazy and real.
Wait, let me see. You're talking the TV show, right? Not the books.
The
'cause I don't
TV
know
show.
anything.
The
Oh,
books,
that's-
I think they fantasized
I
on the
guess I-
idea of what if he had gone there and done a bad job as well.
Okay, because I was going to say, I vaguely remember, I think, a storyline where you're talking about the adopted boy. I forget who the actor was, but yeah, he did
Yeah,
have
who
an
was the
issue
character's
with, I
name
think,
Alonzo?
yeah, that might be true.
Trying
I just
to
don't
remember.
I don't remember.
Memory bank.
that
Yeah,
well.
right. He ends up like sniffing glue or something on the West Coast, or maybe morphine. It's
Or
bad.
maybe
Whatever
it's
his problem
opium.
is.
Maybe it's just opium
It
addict.
might be.
For that
he's
era,
like-
it would have been opiates, I think. It would have
Yeah, right. Because you could smoke them at that point, and there was people coming over from the part of the world where that was very fashionable. Put it
Yeah.
that way. And yeah, isn't it crazy that shows that went on too long. Like most of the cast moved off. There was only him and that one other character. It took us into his world of being a street urchin and kind of like smoking cigarettes like while strapped to like a like industrial machine. Like those grim pictures you see from the early industrial age that got people like in public schools and stuff like that and ended
Got
like
it.
the age of terrible child labor. Like that was what it was dealing with at the end. And while it was period accurate, I was like, damn, this is a dark place for this show to have gone. What the hell happened to Laura Ingalls Wilder and she's a cutie and all that other stuff?
Well, I guess maybe at the time, and I don't recall this, but I guess they were trying to figure out a way to shore up the ratings. Usually that's
guess.
what it is.
Well, we got 404 watching. I can't think of a better time to sign off. Got to quit while you're ahead. And we love all of you over on X and YouTube. Follow me if you're on X. You'll get more of this stuff. And we'll be showing a watch party on Saturday, Thursday. We got Sub Commander Tal. that should be another good fun day here on X and on YouTube. And you know what? I guess we'll end with saving you a lot of money. Let's show you. I'm going to save you a lot of money. Why?
Because I can.
Han Solo. Han Solo shows just how short your window of coolness can be. Han Solo has a short window of coolness. Young, he's really dumb. Older, he's really dumb, especially after they unfreeze him. And then, like, going into late life, like, he's really dumb. Like, he shish kebabs himself in The Force Awakens. So, the middle of his life, though, where he's dealing spice, wasting people, and getting the chick, he's cool. So, here we go. It's called Han Solo, A Life. It saves you, like, 4 movies.
One question! You want to live, Spark?
Yeah, but this time I've got the money. He tell Jabba. Very nice.
I know that laugh.
Yes, anything.
I'd call that comprehensive. You got it all. That was Han Solo's entire life, guys. We love you all. If you're on YouTube and you haven't liked or followed the show yet, go ahead and do it. And on X, if you haven't liked me and followed me on X, go ahead and do it. I check every few days and follow people back and stuff like that. We'll have a lot of fun, let me tell you. We'll be back in a few days, and Saving Star Trek is brought to you by the genius of Gene Roddenberry and the love of Star Trek and Yellowstone fans like Radioactive. Thank you very much, man.
Not a
with
problem.
2 amazing super chats. And RTNZ, who also has 2 amazing super chats. With an amazing super chat and an amazing chat. And all of you who are here, I thank everybody. We're going to get out of here, and I will see you for the next show, which will be on probably Wednesday. Why not? I might come back tomorrow, but definitely for sure Thursday we'll have Sub Commander Tal. If we do a watch party, it's looking like it's shaping up for tomorrow, Wednesday. So we'll keep you in the loop, and I'll talk to everybody, and I'll see what I can pull off for tomorrow. I love you all, and have a great time. And thank you so much for being part of my show. I guess. Yeah, I'm going on too long. Patton's right. Okay, guys, we'll see you on the flip side.
This man is not a hero, he's a criminal.